Oh shoot, I was tweaking. Hello?
I found over 100 actual Easter eggs and
Yo,
really
this is
hard to spot.
loud. Okay, I need to turn this down. Yeah, there we go, bro. All right. You guys like captions? I like captions, but just for you guys. Just for you guys, I'm not gonna have it up. All right, let's get started.
Details in I found over 100 actual Easter eggs and really hard to spot details in Spider-Man Brand New Day. It's apparently a great power that I have that Aunt May says makes me special. I'm Eric Boss of
Yo,
the
I
New
love
Rockstars
Aunt May,
channel,
bro.
and this is a complete breakdown of every Easter.
Wait, I gotta fix something real quick. Yeah, there we go. Also, ignore like the background stuff. That stuff is like my neighbors and stuff. I can't really control that. But I can do what I do best. Also, I'm gonna try fixing my camera a little bit. Oops. No, I like it the way I had it before. All right, let's go.
In reference and detail you missed in Spider-Man Brand New Day. I seriously found over 100 Easter eggs, and I can't wait to share them with you with this scene-by-scene breakdown of Destin Daniel Cretton's amazing film. A breakdown that might be one of our longest, most in-depth breakdowns we've ever done.
Oh yeah, I don't know about you guys, but there may be spoiler warnings. So
on this channel. Spoiler warning if you have not.
Oh, who called it, bro? Who called it? Who called it, bro?
Seen this movie yet? I am wearing our Spidey Who's Who design available at our merch store nerdright.shop. A Yofi's wearing our even begins. We hear composer Michael G.
Oh shoot.
You do it too, and we will shout you out. Before this film even begins, we hear composer Michael G. Kino's Spider-Man theme on piano, the theme that he composed originally for Spider-Man Homecoming, but we only hear part of the melody. Here it goes dun, 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 dun. And normally the theme goes dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, it goes up, but he's going down in life. Yo, Darius, bro. You guys, gang, it's just you. All right, bro. All right, #1 chatter, bro. Let's clap it up for you. Let's clap it up for Darius, bro. Oh my gosh, bro. Yo, let's get into the video though.
At San Diego Comic-Con, I got to meet Michael J. Kino after his annual composer panel, and he said at this panel that for his theme for Spider-Man Brand New Day, he actually took the Homecoming theme and subtracted notes from it in order to represent the missing elements of Peter's life now.
Yo, I mess with that, bro. That's what I'm talking about. It's going down in life. But like, kind of see why, bro, because like that stuff that happened at end of what was it, No Way Home? Oof, I'm tweaking, bro. The end of that last movie, bro. Thanks, bro.
Similarly, over this opening Marvel Studios title card, something has been erased here too. Peter. We start with concept art and poster art of Peter from Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yo, this does not look like Peter, bro. I'm not gonna lie. This guy either, bro.
In Spider-Man No Way Home, and then instead of iconic MCU script lines like the opening title bumper normally has, here we see script lines of Peter and Doctor Strange's exchange near the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, when Peter told Doctor Strange to go through with the memory wipe spell, the runes of Kafkal, in order to close these rifts in reality. So the line here is Peter saying, cast a new spell, make everyone forget me, and Doctor Strange saying, it would be as though you never existed, and then Peter saying, I know, do it. And then we see the golden ring of those runes of the memory wipe spell as it bursts outward. And then shots from all these past films of Peter with others as he vanishes from the frame.
Whoa, they really did that, bro? I did not see that, bro. I'm not gonna lie. But that makes sense. I like that little detail, bro.
No Way Home, MJ reading the newspaper, the headline, Peter Parker and his spider minions. Remember, Peter laid beside her on that rooftop with his head on the chemistry textbook. Now he vanishes so that she's by herself in this frame. Technically, that newspaper would have also warped so that Spider-Man never would have been outed by Mysterio, but remember, the memory wipe spell just left out the part of Mysterio's message that outed Peter. There was still the part of the broadcast where Mysterio blamed Spider-Man for everything that happened in London. So now in this memory, MJ's just reading some article about how Spider-Man's an asshole. And then this shot from Far From Home, where MJ and Peter walk in Prague. This was right when MJ deduced that Peter was Spider-Man. Peter vanishes from this shot. And then from No Way Home, on the right of the frame here, we see Peter in the icy Sanctum Sanctorum with MJ and Ned. And then Peter vanishes from this. And then from Homecoming, on the left of the frame here, Peter is at the lunch table with Ned in the moment they fawned over Liz Allen. And then behind Ned, on the inner top of the R, Aunt May is folding laundry. I think this is from Homecoming. And then on the right, on the lower leg of the R of Marvel, MJ and Peter are on Tower Bridge kissing from the end of Far From From Home, but Peter vanishes from that.
Yikes, bro. No kisses, bro. From Zendaya, bro. That's
And then on the
damn.
further right, on the other leg of the R of Marvel, Ned and Peter are sitting beside each other on the tour bus in Far From Home. Peter vanishes from that. And then above that, on the curved part of the R of Marvel, Peter's facing Green Goblin in the final battle of No Way Home. But notice he does not vanish here. Maybe because
That makes sense, bro. I have no guesses for this, but like that does make sense though. He was there really fighting that boy.
Norman Osborn and Peter Parker from
And I think he was like, isn't he like gone now, bro? Wasn't he like forgotten by the whole thing?
Earth 96283 still remember that Peter is Spider-Man because that spell did not affect people in other universes. And then on
I messed with that.
the far right, on the left arm of the V, MJ is standing next to the crown jewels in the Tower of London vault in Far From Home. Peter wasn't around her for that memory anyway. And then back at the top of the A of Marvel, the moment Peter said goodbye to MJ and Ned before the spell in the sunrise in No Way Home. And then as we pull away from the letters and we see Marvel, we see Aunt May in the M, Ned in the A, Peter in the R. This is from the final battle of No Way Home.
Then they end
MJ
the
in the
V.
V. And I think that's Doctor Strange's spell glowing in the E. And the final Marvel Studios title appears over the Spider-Man mask. So we open this film
Then it's Spider-Man, bro. I have Spider-Man.
on Peter Parker in his new apartment in Manhattan, an attic storage loft that he must have gotten on the cheap and moved
He's low-key hitting the Spider-Man pose on this chair though. You see that with his legs, bro? No reason to be doing all that, but I messed with it.
into since the last place we saw him move into in No Way Home's epilogue. Peter has a new self-built suit fabricator device, 3D printing repairs to his suit. Gone is the Stark tech that he used to do this kind of thing in past MCU films. Now all of Peter's tech must have been engineered by himself. And you can see on his dresser his old sewing machine, the one that he used to make the suit that he was wearing at the end of No Way Home. Over this we hear Peter's voice. Hi, my name is Peter.
Wait, bro. I remember this, bro, because the new suit's based off of Toby and Andrew's Spider-Man. That's why you see like the new blues on his armpits and stuff. And the I forgot what it was with Toby, but I think it's the webs that's different. The webbing
Parker, you
pattern.
don't remember me, but I have something to tell you that's going to sound crazy, but it's the truth, and I know you're going to believe me because you're very good at telling when I'm lying. As we'll see in a moment, these are the words to Peter's letter to MJ, a letter that MJ will eventually read in this movie and believe him because she's good at telling when people are lying. This is a letter that he nearly gave her in the final minutes of No Way Home in the donut shop, but stuffed in his pocket instead. Now he keeps it in that same coffee cup that MJ gave to him. Peter is calibrating his web shooters with the help
Dude, this is like 4 years later too, bro. Look, he's sad, bro.
of his new AI assistant, Evie. No, Evie does not stand for Eric Voss, but she is voiced by Naomi Watts, the first major screen actress
Who?
Tom Holland worked with in the
Yo, I remember this
2012 film
clip.
The Impossible, an actress that he really credited with teaching him how to conduct himself as a professional actor on a film set. So I really love how Tom's first on-screen mommy guides him throughout this movie. Peter has his own
I mess with that. I love me some mommies, bro.
wall covered in less friendly neighborhood villains that he's been tracking lately, and a pop-up reconstruction of the set. We can see that it has various Daily Bugle print edition front pages about Boomerang, Tombstone, Scorpion, and Tarantula. Throughout
who's
this opening
Boomerang,
montage, he
bro?
will take their photos off of this board as he brings them down. There is a clipped note at the top reading "Great power, great responsibility," as he tries to apply the wisdom that Aunt May gave him before she died. On Peter's desk, you can see containers of gold and bronze-colored substances. I'm assuming these are part of the high polymer ingredients that he mentions to Ned later that go into his webbing. In Spider-Man Homecoming, Peter's web fluid 3.01 contains salicylic acid, toluene, and methanol. I assume he uses even more efficient stuff now. Peter finds the letter that he wrote in this cup, as if he forgot that it even existed and hadn't read it in a while, and his voiceover goes on. We used to know each other, we were together, but something bad was going to happen, and the only way to stop it was to make everyone forget me, including you. Peter's phone buzzes with a notification from Ned's Instagram account about how Ned and MJ's first day at MIT. Remember, when Peter asked Doctor Strange to carry out the Runes of Call Memory Wipe spell at the end of No Way Home, he erased the scandalous history that kept Ned and MJ, from their association with Peter, from getting into their dream school. Now, those two have gotten into MIT.
Oh, that makes sense though. Damn. They really were living a better life, I'm not gonna lie. Without him, but damn, bro. He did low-key should have told him sooner, bro. Like once they got in, bro, no one was remembering him, bro. But like, dog, I understand he wants them to be happy, bro, but I feel like at some point you should have been like, dog, maybe now's the time, bro. I think they're happy. They can be happier with me, you know? They're
along
the
with
day
Flash
ones.
Thompson, while Peter stayed in Manhattan studying for the GED. So that would set this scene sometime around August or September 2024 in the MCU timeline, or 8 to 9 months after the final shot of No Way Home. But the rest of this montage will show Peter's adventures over the next 4 years while the others are at school. Now, Peter's phone in this movie is a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7 at
Nothing wrong with his
$1,100
Samsung,
the
bro.
cheapest, and all of his fancy equipment and treadmill. We are wondering how Peter is making enough money to
Yeah,
afford
how is he getting money, bro? I thought the heroes don't even get paid, bro. Not even the Avengers, bro. They're in debt, bro.
all this stuff. Maybe when he showed Yelena his feet in the bathhouse, he was kind of promoting his OnlyFans. Ned's Instagram
Yo,
account
chill.
is the Grateful Ned 42. This is a play on the
Yo,
Grateful
I'm looking subscribing to that though. I'm not gonna lie.
Dead and
What?
42, the big magic number from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Jackie Robinson's number, and in the animated Spider-Verse movies, the universe of the spider that bit Miles Morales, the universe where Miles G. Morales comes from. That will factor in big to Beyond the Spider-Verse coming next year. Since this movie's post-credit scene shows Ned's Spidey Tracker app finding a new location for Peter or some other Spider-Man in space, maybe it's all a clue that Ned, through his portal sorcery that he randomly had in No Way Home, is the key to the live-action Spider-Verse, having his own way of tracking Spider-Men, including Miles Morales or Gwen Stacy, or maybe even Tobey Maguire's Peter 2 from alternate.
You think if Spider-Man got the ringy thing for his fingers again? I mean Ned, if he got those things again, then he would like be able to he'll be able to use magic like that though. I feel like low key though. Low key. And we're gonna talk about the end of the movie soon, bro.
Earths when they arrive
That was jaw
via
dropping.
incursions. In the past, Kevin Feige has indicated that they can't really bring in the live-action Miles Morales, who we know exists in this universe, from the lines of Donald Glover's Aaron Davis in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
I don't want those weapons in this neighborhood. I got a nephew who live here. Yeah, sorry, Miles. I'm not gonna make it.
Feige has said that he can't bring in a live-action Miles until after Beyond the Spider-Verse concludes, but that's coming in less than 12 months at this point. And I feel like
That
part of
makes
that
sense.
answer is going to
Yo,
come
when is that movie even coming out, bro? I'm waiting for that. When is Spider-Man? What's it called? Beyond Spider-Verse coming out? I think we got a date. Yeah, June 18th, 2020. Damn, so that's like 11 months, bro. A lot can happen in 11 months. I'm not gonna lie.
this Across the Spider-Verse cameo by a live-action Donald Glover as the Prowler from some other universe. Tom Holland did say in a recent Empire interview that he wants to be the one to mentor Miles and or Gwen in a future
Spider-Puberty,
film,
what?
saying whether that is a Miles Morales or a Spider-Gwen, I would love to be a part of setting up the next chapter like Downey did for me. Now we see this stunning shot of Peter suited up, sitting on the underside of a steel construction beam with his feet pointed toward the sky in a cityscape of New York City beneath him, looking like it's above
Like,
him
what's
in this
up,
inverted
James?
shot. It's just a classic trippy Spider-Man pose that we saw in an early scene with Miles Morales and
What I
Gwen
was
Stacy in the
thinking, bro.
animated Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I love how this displays Spider-Man's emotional distance from our society. Like he's using his adhesive bonding to surfaces and what must require attentive concentration just to feel like he's dangling over an abyss that would take him into the stratosphere, while he forces the city that he feels duty-bound to protect to stay behind him. Yet those skyscrapers are really clenching down on him like the teeth of a giant monster. It's just interesting how in this movie's post-credit
Yo, you think he feels a little bit dizzy for doing that though?
scene, it's gonna locate a new Spider-Man in space, and that's where Peter's feet are pointed to here in this shot. Peter's voiceover concludes, because I'm not just Peter Parker, I'm Spider-Man. And sometimes Spider-Man has to do the hard thing, even if it breaks Peter Parker's heart. Maybe I'll never read this to you. Maybe I'm just writing this for me. Maybe that's my responsibility, to live alone with the truth. But the truth is, MJ, that I love you, and I hope that deep down something inside you remembers that you love me too. Maybe that's my responsibility, to live alone with the truth? Right now, at this point in his life, Peter is not fully understanding the wisdom that his Aunt May gave him. With great power comes great responsibility. Isn't it a
Yes.
demand that you live alone for the rest of your life? And as Jean Grey will pose him the question that he has to choose whether he's Peter or whether he's Spider-Man, ultimately Peter will conclude he's both of those things. Peter
He's both of those things, bro. I was gonna say something, but I look, you forgot.
has a new suit design in this film, and it looks awesome. The
It
suit
does
that he
look
wore at the
awesome.
end of Spider-Man No Way Home was described in that screenplay as, quote, a blue and red suit, new for him, but reminiscent of the suits he's seen before. And in the screenplay pages released by director Destin Daniel Cretton in this movie, they really doubled down that this new design was
See, bro, that's what I'm talking about. It's inspired by the Toby and Andrew Spider-Mans.
inspired by the suits worn by the Andrew Garfield
Make
and
sure the
Tobey
suit has
Maguire variants of
wrinkles.
Peter Parker that he met in that movie. You can really see that with the raised webbing on the red fabric, something that we haven't really seen since the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire era, and the specific shade of blue, recalling the Mark Webb, Andrew Garfield era. And
Bro, Andrew's my boy, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
really just the way the suit fits, with a certain looseness that allows the air to ripple through it, resulting in a natural fit that really made Andrew Garfield's suit one of the best looking on film. And the suit has a new chest logo to represent this brand new day era. Gone is the squat techie spider logo from the Home trilogy, representing Peter's hardwired collaboration with Tony Stark. Now we have this long-limbed spider with thick clawed legs that stretch up far and down his chest.
Yo, I saw a thing for that, bro. They're saying that that the spider that's on his chest been like changing like every single thing, and like now it's like a adult spider. Showing that like now he's like an actual adult, you know. High school. I just want to point that out. I just want to point that out, bro. Oh shoot, my thing's tweaking.
Representing the fact that this guy is getting arachnid organic webbing to execute the vision of a Spider-Man in this new era, removed from the desaturated Stark Tech nanotech armor designs that Peter had before. Destin Daniel Cretton assembled a dream team of department heads. Director of photography Brett Pollack, Cretton's past collaborator from Short Term 12, The Glass Castle, that also had Sadie Sink in it, and Just Mercy. VFX supervisor Jerome Chen, who worked on the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, really the best live-action web-swinging action that we've seen prior to this film. Longtime
I lucky forgot I have my camera up, bro. That's my bad. I'm so sorry, guys.
costume designer Sanja Milkovic Hayes, stunt and fight coordinator Fen Zhang, who choreographed fights in Shang-Chi, and colorist Tom Poole, the last of whom really brought out the reds and saturated midtones of the natural lighting that Pollack shot in. I really don't like comparing this movie to John Watts' work in Spider-Man No Way Home, because that movie was shot
Hey, a lot of us don't know those names, I'm not gonna lie.
during COVID with impressive efficiency, and it was really a miracle that they even could get a movie that good out in December 2021. Without the work of Watts and his crew on that movie, hundreds of movie theaters in North America would have had to shut down. That movie really did save our industry. And speaking of No Way Home,
For real?
over this montage, we hear TV on the Radio's 2006 track, Wolf Like Me, the music video for which was shot by John Watts. In addition to it being a sick track, I wonder if Cretton added it here as a nod to Watts' pre-MCU work. Peter catches this guy in a green suit. It's an exact restaging of the cover of Amazing Fantasy 15, the first ever
I'm not gonna lie, that does not look like green, bro, but I'll call it what it is.
comic appearance of Spider-Man from August 10th,
Once we get the
1962,
reference.
posed this way to match Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko's cover art. In that first issue, the cover art isn't anything that we see Spider-Man do in this origin story. The green-suited guy is just meant to be a generic thug who is retroactively named Steve, historically as a nod to Steve Ditko. A news report afterwards says that these guys were part of the Manfredi crime syndicate. The Manfredis are led by Silvio Manfredi, aka Silvermane, and in the deleted restaurant scene of Far From Home, Peter was fighting the Manfredis there. In Spider-Noir, an alternate universe version of Silvermane, the Irish
Yo, I look you, I get to watch Inspired Noir, bro. That stuff looks nice, bro. I saw that was in both black and white, bro, but I'm lucky. I think I'm gonna watch that in the colored version.
Finn Byrne was played by Brendan Gleeson. Peter always catches these news reports as part of his routine to pick up flowers for the grave of Aunt May. We now see that May Parker's birth year was 1964. The birth and death years on this headstone were covered in No Way Home, but now the MCU is okay establishing those events as happening in 2024. Aunt May was not 60 when she died. She was around 54 to 55 since she dusted in a blip. We see the moment Peter moves into his attic storage loft space. This is why his apartment in this movie is different from the space he moved into at the end of No Way Home. We actually found a 3D floor plan of the set design of this, and even an asbestos-filled loft like this in Manhattan with a
Bro, who made this, bro? We lucky guys see more of this, bro. I did not know about this.
bedroom and kitchen attached, and this much natural light would go for like a minimum of $3,000 a month. I mean, probably way more than that given this square footage, but you know, maybe fewer people want to live in Manhattan in the MCU given the recent century-caused shame shadows from Thunderbolts and how bad things must have gotten in every big city during the blip, and maybe those whales in the Hudson
Yeah, living in New York in the MCU, bro, that's gotta be like a death sentence, bro. Imagine the insurance, bro. Imagine just you gotta get to work, bro. You already in a rush, bro. And some random superhero just falls on your car and just walks up to go fight someone, bro. There's nothing you can do with that, bro. You better hope there's cams or something, bro.
That are just really loud. During a snowy winter month, Peter wears a vest and knit cap. Peter has to wear outerwear now because the heaters that used to be in his suit were custom add-ons from the Stark Tech suit in Homecoming, installed by Tony Stark after his experience with cold after the icing over of his armor in the first Iron Man film and him nearly getting hypothermia in Tennessee in Iron Man 3. Now that Peter's suit was made by himself, he has to intentionally add layers for cold weather. Actually, I found this vest. It's an original Break Burn Outfitters make. This whole look of Peter is also something that we saw him wearing in 2018's The Amazing Spider-Man number 795. Peter is fighting Matt Gargan, the Scorpion, Michael Mando. We last saw him in Spider-Man.
See, with that, see, like, why not just like stab him, bro? There's no reason to just right hook him.
Homecoming, when he was seeking weapons from Adrian Toome's crew on the Staten Island ferry, then knocked into the water and arrested and imprisoned on Rikers Island, where we saw his scorpion neck tattoo.
Bro, that's straight metal to the stomach, bro. That had to hurt.
To put Spider-Man's head in a dryer. It's not clear in this moment how Matt Gargan got out of prison, but in Morbius, we saw Adrian Toomes teleport to another universe out of that prison, and maybe between the chaos of the
What happened in Morbius, bro? Did I miss something? Bro, I did not watch Morbius, bro. I did not think anything good was gonna happen in that.
And everything that happened during No Way Home, Gargan was just able to escape. Gargan now has his Scorpion exoskeleton suit, and it looks awesome. He never had that in Homecoming, but there was one subtle line indicating that Adrian Toomes and his tinkerer Phineas Mason did at least build it.
We still have to do the Gargan deal, though, right?
Yeah, but then that's it.
This armor has a green color to it as a nod to Scorpion's look in the comics. And
okay, I can see the green in this one, bro. I don't think I'm colorblind.
Controls the tail movement with his arm doing the uppercut. I really love this functionality. This framing is a restaging of Alex Saviuk's comic book cover art from 1994's Spider-Man Adventures #2, a tie-in comic with the Fox Kids Spider-Man animated series that was airing at the time. Actually, when talking about all the comic covers
shooting our web, bro. What are we doing?
Daniel Cretton said that they had to shoot these slow motion shots at 420 frames per second, which is insane. That's 14 times slower than the normal frame rate of 30 frames per second. Cretton said that there wasn't room for acting choices in such a small gap of time, but that Tom Holland, within that 1/14 of a second, could control his body well enough in order to strike these kinds of expressive poses. I specifically love the detail of the knit cap flying off of Peter's head.
Yeah, I look, you mess with that,
bro. It would be to place that at first, to time it for it to fly off just like that. To finish this fight, Peter quips to Gargan, "Let's end this on a high note, yeah?" And then he knocks him out with a mini grand piano. Next, we see the MCU debut of
grand piano's
Tombstone,
crazy,
Lonnie
bro.
Lincoln, played by Marvin Jones III, aka rapper Crundon. This shot recreates Sal Buscema's cover art from 1988's Spectacular Spider-Man 142. Really the most iconic Tombstone cover. He asks, "If I drop you here, how long would it take for you to hit the ground?" This scene introduces
bro, only 15 minutes. Yo, let me watch the film, bro.
This is Liza Colon-Zayas from The Bear
Goodness,
as Detective Jean DeWolf. DeWolf is a detective who teams up with Spider-Man during the 70s and 80s runs of the comics until the 1985 death of Jean DeWolf storyline, where she dies at the hands of the Sin Eater. Actually, in this scene of the movie, there is a shout out to the writer of that storyline, Peter David, with the storefront sign that reads P. David's Services. New York One news host Pat Kiernan makes another Marvel cameo as himself. He previously was the one who broke the Daily Bugle Mysterio footage that outed Peter Parker in Far From Home and in No Way Home, now reporting that it's a new...
Bro, I thought it was the what's his name, OJ Simmons, bro. I thought his name, bro, OJ Simmons, bro. That's my guy, bro. I'm sad I didn't see him in this. Let me show you guys, bro. OJ Simmons, bro. Not this guy, bro. Not this guy, bro. The newspaper guy from Spider-Man. Yes, bro. Jonah J. Jameson, bro. That's my boy, bro. I was looking missing him in this movie. Yeah, I thought he originally... Bro, am I tweaking, bro? L content? Alright, bro. Why we... What, bro? You get that, bro. No hate in my chat, bro.
Crime rates have dropped to a record low thanks to Spider-Man's heroics. This movie is titled Brand New Day after a particular era of Spider-Man comics that began in 2008.
New Day, New Year.
Storyline in which Mephisto granted Peter's wish that the world would forget that Peter is Spider-Man, including erasing his relationship with MJ. And this era reestablished Peter as a classic, anonymous, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
But when Spider-Man does it, we're saying when Spider-Man does it, it's cool. But when I do it though,
in a somewhat restored era of street-level conflicts and drug dealers, gangs, and other similar criminals. The montage shows Peter taking out more low-level supervillains, all in slow-motion shots recreating
Yo, I
other
mess with
classic
that,
comic
bro.
covers, starting with Boomerang, restaging Eric J. Larson's cover art for 1991's Amazing Spider-Man 345. Boomerang Fred Myers was a Spider-Man villain from 1966, an Australian-American who got caught taking bribes that ended his baseball pitching career and fell into the crime organization called the Secret Empire. We found out from an art book related to this film that each
That's the Boomerang, bro? Bro, I did not catch this.
Boomerangs have different explosive abilities. Next, Tarantula, restaging Tarantula's first
It's like a different version of a Hawkeye, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
appearance in Ross Andrews' cover art of The Amazing Spider-Man 134 from 1974, showing Spider-Man evading one of Tarantula's foot blades on this boat. Just as there is on the cover, there's a cop here aiming a gun with his hand on another cop whom Tarantula had just injured. Tarantula, Anton Miguel Rodriguez, was a South American terrorist who ends up working for the Brand Corporation, who wears razor-clawed boots and gloves that are tipped with toxin that render his victims unconscious. Then Ramrod,
Like
restaging
Scorpion,
Bob
bro.
Wycheck's cover art of The Amazing Spider-Man number 221 from 1981, when Spider-Man jumps to allow Ramrod to ram his head into a brick wall on the campus of Empire State University. Ramrod is a cyborg with metal plating on his head, shoulders, and chest, originally introduced in Daredevil number 103 in 1973 as a creation of Kerwin Broderick and Moondragon as a cyborg weapon against Daredevil. He faces Spider-Man in the 1981 comic in a plot by Ramrod to develop a potion that will make people go into a rageful frenzy and then die shortly after. Billy Clements played Ramrod in this movie, and he said on Instagram that he was grateful to make it into the film considering they shot lots of other scenes with recognizable actors that were removed from the final cut. Kind of curious who else they had in mind for this movie. Pat Kiernan also said that Spider-Man
glad they're
defeated
recognizing
the
talent, I'm
Hand,
not gonna
who we
lie.
see Peter leaping toward in this epic
In this shot, I thought it was gonna, bro. I thought this was gonna happen like at the end of the movie or something, bro.
slow motion wuxia wirework shot. No, Daredevil was not VFX scrubbed out of this shot. The Hand represents an ancient order of ninjas first introduced in live action in the Daredevil series in the Netflix era. Their goal then was to defeat death and attain immortality by digging up the bones of an ancient dragon buried beneath Midland Circle in New York City, remains that they used along with human blood to synthesize the resurrection elixir. The leaders of the Hand had used this to stay alive for centuries, but they used the last of it to resurrect Elektra Nachios into the weapon known as Black Sky. The Hand was supposedly defeated as of the Defenders crossover series in 2017, but this movie suggests that all these years later, the Order carried on with these 5 or 6 left with their bright red Frank Miller era clothes. This movie really uses the Hand as a visual flourish to stage some really cool looking action, especially in the final battle in the prison, but I'm not sure how much the creative team working on this movie watched the Netflix shows or understood what the Hand was really trying to do back then.
I had no idea what any of that meant, bro.
Peter receives the key to the city from new mayor Sheila Rivera. Sabrina Guevara returns here from Daredevil Born Again on Disney Plus, where Sheila was Mayor Wilson Fisk's chief of staff. But when Fisk was forced to resign at the end of season 2, it seems that she has stepped up, at least as interim mayor. The city's general support for Spider-Man now represents a full 180 from when Fisk, in his inaugural address, called out Spider-Man as a vigilante.
I don't need a gun-toting vigilante who wears a skull on his chest, or a man who dresses in a spider outfit.
Dropping these references, bro.
Plays with his key to the
Collab
city
of
while
the
he
century.
sits with his bruised legs next to his building's washing machine where he washes his suit, reminding me of Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 2 when he did his laundry and his suit turned all of his white clothes pink. Thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. When the weather is hot, everybody has a shorter fuse than normal. Being patient is hard when your shirt's stuck to your back with sweat or when you can't sleep because of the heat. Frequently in the mornings, I'm trying to grab a nice coffee on the way into
This
the
an
office. It feels
advertisement,
like the
bro?
days I'm in the biggest rush. Word coffee therapist said we're going to the gym. Insights therapist quiz next 2%.com/BetterHelp. Couch here you can see with
Yeah,
you.
look how it's
Peter
tapped
watches
in,
minutes of
bro.
final semester at MIT Instagram post. Laying on the couch here you can see Peter with one of his Little Caesars hot and ready pizzas. Probably how he survived with a cheap food budget. And Little
Bro,
Caesars
chill,
was
chill,
one of the big
chill. He's been
sponsors of
getting
this
his
movie.
protein
Peter wears
powder,
his
bro.
black. The physics are theoretical, but the fun is real shirt. Peter wore this in Homecoming when he was with Tony Stark in the car, and in No Way Home when he's
Hey,
being
damn,
interrogated by the
hold on.
Turks. Peter wore this in Homecoming when he was with Tony Stark
Bro, he did not look like Peter for a second, bro. I'm not gonna lie. This looks like a stunt double or something, bro.
in the car, and in No Way Home when he's being interrogated by the DODC. In this Instagram post, Ned talks about all the great memories he racked up at MIT. Night swimming in the Charles River with Jen and Wiley, the infamous food fight at the Banana Lounge. The Banana Lounge is an actual room on the MIT campus that's filled with bananas. And all-nighters with MJ and someone he calls Nate Dogg. Maybe Nate is the name of the new boyfriend played by Iman Esfandi. Ned says it feels like yesterday when he was sitting on a rooftop with MJ thinking about coming to MIT. This shows how his memory was altered by the spell. In No Way Home, Ned, MJ, and Peter all sat on the rooftop dreaming of going to MIT. We see a close
Damn, bro.
close-up of the Emperor Palpatine Lego minifigurine. This was how Ned first greeted Peter in Spider-Man Homecoming as they were working on their Lego Death Star together. We saw in the No Way Home final scene that
Loki just dropped that, bro. I would have been mad.
Peter kept that. As Peter exits his apartment, we see a spider in a web in his doorway. We also saw a spider in a spider web in one of the opening shots of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man as Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker ran to catch the bus. This movie will also show our Peter going through a similar physiological change. Peter calls Detective DeWolf from the bodega. In this shop, every time we're in here, really, Biro can be seen on the shelves. Biro is Tom Holland's non-alcoholic beer brand. DeWolf brings up the headaches Peter has been getting, as we saw him rubbing his head in the opening montage, showing how despite the particular triggers he goes through in this movie, his physical changes are something that has been coming along for a while. Peter responds to another call and runs across a rooftop, hops over an AC unit, sending us into this incredible leaping and swinging montage. I don't think we've seen anything this good since Jerome Chen's work in the
What I'm saying, bro, that looks hecka nice.
A lot of the action we see in the Insomniac games. Peter awkwardly rolls on the diagonal building surface and then goes into a leap where we see his point of view of his boots. I love how there's some sloppiness in the movement and the subjectivity
look
as
at
we
that,
are seeing
bro.
what Peter sees. Now Peter runs down this
Look
beam
at
and
the
does this
POV.
backflip dive. We see his body reflected on the nearby building glass as his suit ripples in the wind. And another new shot that we haven't seen in any Spider-Man movie before, a macro close-up of
Yeah, how do they even do this, bro? I was wondering about that, bro. Like, you can't fit a camera in there, bro. Like, bro, what? MTP, yo, my daddy. Yo, chill, bro. I'm watching Spider-Man, bro.
Under the mask, as the eyepiece's heads-up display reflects in his eyeball. Remember, we saw Peter testing his HUD with EV earlier, and it's this new goggle and the tiny signal that it emits that MJ later deduces as responsible for his
Bro, I look, you
inhibitor chip
forgot
on his
about
neck
that,
not
bro.
reaching his brain. I love how they set up the answer to that mystery right here in the first 10 minutes. There's another great shot from Peter's point of view, looking up at his arms as he swings toward the Empire State Building. The camera shakes like it's a GoPro strapped to Peter's head or his shoulder. And then on the next big leap, Peter just soars through the air, and notice how he takes a moment to like crack his knuckles as he looks over at the tank plowing through
he's
the
looking like
streets.
me,
He might
bro.
also be rubbing his
Look, you
wrists
aura
because
farm me.
along with his headaches, his wrists have been aching. Peter here swings into this alley over a pipe, the kind that clotheslined Harry Osborn in the 2007 film. Oh! And he kicks off the side of the building.
Yo,
to
can't
follow
be
the
saying down
high-tech tank as
UGL,
it
bro.
plows through two cop cars. This
We
scene,
don't
most of
support
the
that type of
exterior street
language on the
shots were
live
shot in
streams.
Glasgow, Scotland, in the earliest days of shooting in
Also,
August
wasn't there like
2025.
multiple truck? Yo, I saw a thing about this, bro. They look, he had to like small in his bulge, bro. Like, bro, if that was me, bro, they would have been having too much trouble with that, bro.
They were using practical swinging for many shots, suspending a stunt actor from a swinging cable attached to truck-mounted rigging. That's a big reason why the physics of Peter's movement looks so natural and grounded in gravity throughout this sequence. Plus the fact that they were able to shoot on an actual city street, giving lots of shots depth of field where they water the surfaces. It just gives so many of these shots texture that we never saw in past films. I went into a lot of why this movie looks this good in this new series that we started, why it looks like this. We're actually going to start doing that at least twice a month here on the New Rockstars channel as a new show that we're doing, and we're happy to announce and launch it here. So please check out 2026. It's right in front of the camera, and love this shot where Peter swings past the tank as it shoots at him, stops right in front of the camera, and then whips himself back in the tank to take out its high caliber gun. Peter lands on the hood of a BMW i5, another huge product placement.
Wait, peep the license plate, bro. That might be like a whole comic number or something.
Whitney Houston's I'm Every Woman switches it to sports mode to accelerate. I assume Sony and Marvel made BMW pay for the Whitney Houston needle drop to make this funnier, and I'm
not gonna lie, bro. That driver thought he was part of the team with that, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Spider-Man did not need all that, bro. He has webs.
Someone in the movie's ad sales department watching this video is like this.
Yep.
The tank plows through another cop car, sending it rolling toward this kid on a scooter.
You okay, kid? Yeah, you're okay. See you later.
Yo, I also mess with the saves in this, bro. There was low-key some parts where I was like, yo, how is he gonna save that, bro? And then low-key did some trippy stuff, bro. I'm a big fan. Please notice me. Yo, Scary Popsicle, bro. Scary Popsicle.
Peter pats his helmet
This is your run day 100, bro. You're a little bit late.
Peter Parker technically appeared in the MCU as the kid in the Iron Man mask at the Stark Expo in Queens in Iron Man 2.
Oh, that was me,
saved him in
bro.
the final battle, but technically an earlier appearance than that, in like the second or third scene of the film, that same kid in the mask, at the time played by Jon Favreau's son Max, appears to Tony when he's pushing through the crowd. And after giving him
for
an
real?
autograph, Tony pats his helmet the same way, twice. Could this little kid on the scooter be our Miles Morales? I looked at the actor on Instagram. He's a stage dancer who was in a
Yo, they're hinting at stuff, bro. They're
Production of
hinting.
Oliver, just like Tom Holland's origin on the
Yo,
West
don't
End,
ju-
Billy
yo,
Elliot.
don't jump
Probably
it yet,
overthinking
bro.
it, but kid, I hope I gave you some more Instagram
Yo, you got a little bit too
followers. The tank
excited there,
charges toward
bro.
a tour bus where the tour guide says, you wouldn't know it by looking at it, but this is the same street that was destroyed in the Battle of New York. Of course, referring to the 2012 Avengers film. This tour guide, though, was also played by Taria Peterside, who voiced Storm in the X-Men audio drama from 2015 to 2018. Peter webs the corner to swing and redirect the tank out of harm's
That's
way.
what cameos,
His webbing
bro.
breaks loose and he smacks into the window where this girl in a Jets shirt
Yo, I know her, bro. I know her. I just don't know from where.
barely notices him. When this shot appeared in the trailer, a lot of us saw this girl's hair and immediately started screaming, "It's Rogue!" It's not Rogue, but Jean Grey
Who?
shows up as randomly in this universe as this random extra does. Peter webs the wheel of the tank
I guess
and
I don't know
reels
her,
himself
bro.
into the back of it, and then his Spidey sense goes off. That chime you
Damn,
heard was the same sound of Peter's Peter tingle going off in No Way Home when he sensed Norman Osborn was about to betray him.
Yo, these POV shots are crazy, bro.
That chime sound effect lasted over Peter walking around and past Otto and Norman, but here it's condensed as Peter just senses the grenade being launched from Frank. By the way, we also heard that chime the moment Peter dusted in Infinity War.
For real? Yo, we did,
A
bro.
process that was drawn out for Peter because he could sense it coming. The explosion knocks Peter off of the tank, and then he gets sideswiped by the battle van of Frank Castle, the Punisher. This is our first time seeing the battle van in live action. Punisher had it in the comics since giant-sized Spider-Man in number 4 in 1975. So really, the van itself comes from Punisher crossing over with Spider-Man. The comedic timing of the shot
majority of
recalls a
people, I don't
similar
think are
shot
reading
where
the
Andrew
comments,
Garfield's
bro.
Spider-Man gets sideswiped by an
Comics.
NYPD SUV in the
I
Amazing
messed with it,
Spider-Man
though.
2. There's also a similar shot in Far From Home of Tom Holland, Peter Parker in Berlin getting sideswiped by a bullet train.
Yo, he needs to stop getting sideswiped,
All
bro.
three examples are really
That's
an
low-key
homage to
dangerous.
the iconic Buster Keaton stunt of how he just exits quickly out of frame. Now, there is actually an Easter egg here in the mural art in the movie version of this shot. You can see street art showing B Rabbit. Yes, Eminem's character from 8 Mile, which is actually from the Salvador LaRocca variant cover of 2022's
Yo, who thought, bro? Who's thinking to do this, bro? No, I don't think anyone's asking for Spider-Man versus Eminem, bro.
Spider-Man
Then they put headphones on him, bro.
One Legacy 895 that showed B Rabbit in a rap battle with Spider-Man, with Daredevil and Miles in the crowd watching.
What
This
is-
movie
why are
surprisingly
they
heavy on
here?
John Bernthal's Frank Castle. But back before both he and Tom Holland got cast in their Marvel roles, the actors recorded each other's audition tapes when they were shooting a movie in Ireland in spring 2015.
Tom made my first Punisher audition tape, and I made his Spider-Man audition tape.
And it was actually John Bernthal's idea for Holland to do a backflip to enter the scene, which Holland says got him the part and was the origin of the Spider-Man do a
Yo.
flip and Homecoming.
Yo, that's the bro. They got so many characters from the Bear, bro.
I covered Frank Castle's past
I don't
in the
think that was
MCU
one
in
of them,
our
though, but I
homework video,
recognize him
but
from
now he's been
somewhere.
generally in New York City, and he apparently met Spider-Man in a Staten Island incident where Peter saved him. Frank's windshield has a window built into it so that he can shoot weapons forward while he's driving. Presumably the rest of the glass is bulletproof, making it super impressive that Peter can kick it out later. And on Frank's dashboard, we can see some bolt
I mean, you
cutters,
can
a
take
radio,
most bullets,
and
bro.
a whole bunch of
We're just
unpaid
not gonna talk
parking
about that
tickets.
ending.
Peter snatches and webs Frank's first grenade launcher, but this time Frank is ready for him with another one.
What do you think's downrange to that tank, dum-dum?
Peter gets launched back into the tank, where he webs the sides of the buildings to create a slingshot to propel himself back at Frank, smash through his windshield, and pull Frank out of the van.
Damn.
And Peter keeps things neighborhood friendly. I'm surprised we didn't get an F-bomb here. You're allowed one every PG-13 movie, but I guess the producers are realizing a lot of kids are seeing this movie. The tank heads into a damage control detention center where
That's
Matt
fair,
Gorgon
bro,
is
that's
currently being
fair.
transferred. The tank crashes through the wall, and Peter smartly swings in front of it and uses that same web to drag
Yeah,
the people who are
bro.
about to be crushed out of the way. Peter pries open the hatch to
That
find
low-key
this
caught me, bro. I was wondering how he's gonna do that.
nice older woman inside. We later find out that she was a janitor working at the DODC warehouse in Brooklyn. So that Brooklyn break-in that Peter called DeWolf about earlier was probably connected to this. There are dozens of actors in this film who get to play one of the people possessed by Jean Grey, and of the ones who don't get lines, the credits call them the Inhabited. I really love how much this film gives these day players moments to shine, and how well they all crush it, both as they embody Jean's personality and when they come to their senses, and in the physical choreography they all have to do to thrust their bodies in order to convey
Nah,
the
bro. I was
transition.
peeping it on the second watch, but not all of them were doing that jump.
Choreography for the Inhabited.
When she revealed like she knew Spider-Man's identity, bro. They were not. Fucking thrusting,
Designed by
bro.
Nathan Kim. Breaking into this facility to get Matt Gargan was all part of Jean's plan. She goes from the janitor to the DODC soldier and then to the agent upstairs. Cretton and Pollack do this awesome lateral tracking shot showing Jean's consciousness jumping among 4 inhabited victims as they force their way through the crowd. And on the last one in the hard hat, notice how Jean turns this guy around to smirk at Spider-Man because she's not trying to blend in, because her goal is actually to get Spider-Man away from the tank so that the tank can explode without his spidey senses alerting himself to the explosives to stop it. We also get a little clue here of Jean's 33-foot range limit. Once this worker gets on the roof, even after he sees the DODC soldier across the way, he still has to walk 10 to 15 feet closer before she would be in range to jump in.
I did not peep that, bro.
Into the next guy. Jean nearly throws this soldier off the roof. Lots of attempted murder by Jean Grey here and completed.
Yeah, why are we
murder in
doing
one
that, bro?
case. Or maybe she just trusts that Spider-Man will save the guy. Jean tries to jump into Peter's mind and we briefly see Peter's old bedroom with a bunk bed from Spider-Man Homecoming. The walls are bare in this version of the room, but the Mets pennant is still on the wall and the fan is still in the corner. And on the floor is this brown paper bag. This is the bag that Tony Stark returned Peter's first generation Stark suit in, writing "This belongs to you, TS." So that would place this memory right after Aunt May walked in on Peter while he was wearing the suit and realized that her nephew was Spider-Man, the final shot of Homecoming.
What? Bro. That was mad long ago, bro.
But Peter is able to force Jean out of his mind. In No Way Home, when Doctor Strange pushed him into the astral plane, Peter was able to use his spidey sense to control his body's motor functions, an ability that Doctor Strange had never seen before. The telepathy of mutants like Jean Grey and Charles Xavier does operate somewhat in the astral plane, so Peter can resist Jean here probably for the same reason. Jean, as this soldier, taunts, "What's in the tank?" And boom! Later, after Jean releases this guy, he says as he's loaded into the ambulance,
I love you, Spider-Man. Yeah, all right, buddy.
Peter takes
Love Spider-Man 2, bro.
the train out to 3250 Brighton Beach in the Coney Island area, which turns out is a Russian bathhouse used by Yelena Belova, Florence Pugh, as her office. Yes, every Sony Marvel Spider-Man movie does have at least one cameo from the MCU. This one got a whole bunch. So this would be after the events of Thunderbolts, when Yelena Belova is now part of the new Avengers, struggling to get the public to take them seriously. And I assume Yelena uses this Russian bathhouse instead of the new Avengers tower, just because she doesn't trust Val. Yelena makes Peter strip down and join her in the bath to make sure that he doesn't have any weapons on him. He of course leaves his mask on, and she asks about a girlfriend or a boyfriend or something else, mentioning that there's lots of conjecture online and super graphic artwork, specifically one involving Mysterio.
Yo, we're not searching that up, bro.
Spider-Man as Peter Parker was erased.
I know some of you guys made some of that, bro. That's not cool.
Posthumous disclosure that blamed the attacks on Spider-Man, a masked Spider-Man, would still be out there in this history. And it follows that there would then be conspiracy theories and I guess graphic fan art and fan fiction about how Spider-Man and Mysterio actually were lovers. Yeah, there would just be a lot of confusion there that a lot of creative artists out there would try to make sense of. Yelena says that Peter's investigation of the DODC is small potato stuff, whereas the new Avengers focus on big potato stuff.
Exactly,
we're
bro.
about to see a hell of a big potato in the form of 2 or 3 other Earths in nearby space when these incursions.
Nah, bro, we're at potatoes at that point, bro. We're at yams.
Dr. Doom arrive in Doomsday. Peter asks Yelena if what he saw with the DODC workers was the same kind of mind control that Yelena and the other Black Widow agents experienced. He's referring to the events of the 2021 Black Widow film, when Yelena was one of the first Widow agents who inhaled an antidote that freed her from General Dracov's mind control that all Widow agents from the Red Room operated under. Yelena says this is not that same mind control, but rather a type of possession, the kind that you'd see from a ghost or a demon or a figure from Russian folklore. And she says that after 4 attacks on DODC sites, there was a cybersecurity attack looking for something called VMAX. So why doesn't Peter go to the Sanctum Sanctorum after this to talk to Wong?
I'm still wondering, where did they get that VMAX idea from, bro?
Strange about what kind of ghostly possession this could be. Well, because he went there in the last movie. But also it seems like he just trusts the DODC too much and just wants to ask them personally because he thinks he can get to the answer sooner. He shouldn't trust them though, because the moment he arrives, they make him go through this full body scanner at gunpoint. There's a lot of interesting text that shows up on this scanner if you look closely. On the lower left by his hand, the screen reads H-EN and enhanced human or human enhanced. On the upper right by his head, the screen reads radiation detection. It's looking for gamma radiation, like what Hulk and She-Hulk have in their blood, or the cosmic radiation given off by figures like Carol Danvers, Monica Rambeau, Kamala Khan, and Wanda Maximoff. Technically, the spider that bit Peter was supposed to have a kind of radiation that resulted in his powers. And then on this close-up of the screen, we see Operator Agent Ramirez, priority elevated, and in the upper right, we see subject designation, Vigil 09, identified enhanced operative, threat level, agility enhanced, non-lethal profile, last known activity, urban traversal via synthetic filament, visual lock acquired, scared, confidence 92%. I guess that other 8% would be
Yo,
him
where's
taking
that
off his
scaling,
mask.
bro?
And then beneath that, a rundown of Peter's abilities and their classes, according to the DODC. You can see superior strength, muscle fiber density, 12,500 psi tensile strength, enhanced class B, superior agility, neural response time 0.02 seconds, reflexive overdrive class C, heightened senses, ocular enhancement, 360-degree peripheral awareness, augmented class A, enhanced perception, ocular enhancement, peripheral awareness, and then again augmented class A. So this is
Damn,
huge.
no
We've seen
S's?
how the DODC has already come up with various categories and classes of enhanced individuals and their abilities. The DODC was already hunting enhanced persons in the Miss Marvel series, which included the clandestines from the Noor Dimension and the Jersey City girl Kamala Khan, whom we now know has a genetic mutant status. And in Wonder Man, the DODC was processing violators of the Doorman clause in Hollywood, which included Simon Williams, who in
Yo, I
that series
love
was
this show, bro.
mysteriously born.
I low-key got rewatch this movie, bro. This show, bro. This show is mad good, bro. Bro, read comments. Yo, not now, bro. Not now. I'm reacting, bro. We got
Peter
another
meets a new director
hour
of the
left.
DODC, William Bill Metzger, played by Tremel Tillman, who is an incredible actor from Severance. In the comics,
Yo,
William
I
Metzger is a
remember
militant
Severance, bro.
Anti-mutant leader and propagandist. Giving a suited government authority this name tells us that Marvel Studios plans to use him and the DODC in their future as a mutant hunting agency. Metzger in this scene really lays out all the reasons the DODC are the true villains of this movie. He shows Spider-Man the hand ninjas and says that they were just a group of kids without a leader, and he saw opportunity in redirecting the threat that they brought.
I still don't know who they came from,
Similarly,
bro.
we see the scientists and the engineers of the DODC messing with Shocker's gauntlets from Homecoming.
Read comments. Wonder Man, it got canceled. Yo, chill, bro. We'll do our research on Wonder Man later, bro. Right now, and for Spider-Man, bro. Bro, I better be seeing a season 2. I'm not gonna lie.
As Metzger talks about the tech being in the right hands. Selfishly, he just wants these super abilities in his own
chill.
hands to beat up mutants. I like the detail where Metzger looks a little suspicious when he confirms that this telepath could not jump into Spider-Man's mind. That's
Suspicious.
because he's secretly working on a way to replicate that telepathy artificially, and he's realizing right now that they'll never be able to use it to control Spider-Man someday. Metzger won't tell Spider-Man what's in the vault or what VMAX is. In truth, Metzger doesn't know what VMAX is. It's really a red herring clue in this movie, making us think it's going to be a mutant curbing toxin or something like that, when really it's just something personal between Sarah and Jean. Peter spots Ned in the
I still
bodega
don't know
where
how
Ned
she
buys
figured
a
that out,
keg
bro.
And energy drinks he's addicted to, Sharkfire. We hear Tame Impala's Loser as Peter follows Ned into his house party. In Ned's room, Peter finds a Chewbacca Lego minifig that's also part of that Death Star set, and Ned's huge Spider-Man research wall. So many fun details here. There's references to Peter's appearances in Europe from Spider-Man Far From Home, Venice, Prague,
Hello?
Berlin, London, and his appearance in Berlin in Captain America Civil War. And speculation, is he British? Which of course Tom Holland is. The German newspaper The Line has a
Yo,
photo
I
of
mess
Peter
with that.
crashed on a truck at the Berlin airport tarmac from the Civil War battle, with the caption translating from German to a photo from a surveillance camera of Tony Stark's newest recruit. Much of the German text is cut off, but what I can make out is a mention of the Avengers in the column to the left, and the text above the photo translates to showing how he, in a fierce fight with Captain America, tests himself. That
What's
German
that even
reporter probably saw
mean?
the moments
Oh.
Peter whipped Captain America's shield, and later in the battle, when the hero from Brooklyn left the hero from Queens pinned under the heavy collapsing jetway, but made sure the kid was okay, to eventually lift it on his own.
You got hard, kid. Where you from?
Queens?
Brooklyn.
And again, these news articles would still exist
Queens.
despite Dr. Strange's memory
Brooklyn.
wipe spell, which
Manhattan, bro. Why he can't? Yo, Asian left. Green. Yo,
didn't
chill,
work
bro,
physical
chill.
media because none of those reports showed who Peter Parker was under the mask. There's also an article behind the clipping of Peter at the airport battle that's actually in Czech, suggesting this would be an article from one of the Prague reporters reacting to the fire elemental attack in Spider-Man Far From Home. And the
Bro, I
Night
low-key
Monkey.
forgot about that,
Specifically,
though,
we
but that
see the
looks
name
cool.
Mysterio in phrases translating to in combat gear and the characteristic round helmets of, and then energy disruptions utilizing as nuclear. It sounds like this Prague reporter was describing the Mysterio fishbowl helmet, and they're worried the fire elemental attack, which were really the drones faking that illusion, were powered by nuclear technology. We also see a newspaper clipping mentioning adrenaline junkie Ewan Hendry being arrested for scaling a skyscraper for the 8th time. Ewan Hendry
What?
is a set decorator who worked on this film. Ha, you made yourself an Easter egg, Ewan. We also see how Ned
Aha.
realized
that,
Peter's
bro.
shoe size is 9.5. Okay. Then this article reads, Spider-Man unmasked. Could this Latino parkour prodigy be the web slinger? 10 years ago, Carlos Rodriguez was a viral sensation with his impressive parkour videos until he mysteriously stopped uploading. Could it be that he picked up a new identity?
Bro, Spider-Man doesn't
Ironically,
parkour,
the
he
word
aura
parkour
farms,
actually
bro.
gets pretty close to the real identity of Spider-Man. And then another note breaks down known characteristics.
Yo.
Gender, male, age 18 to 25, ethnicity white, first appeared 2016, Queen's accent. Yes, 2016 would have been the first year Peter Parker appeared via his YouTube
Damn, he looks so
videos.
young
And
back
Queen's
then, bro.
accent, love this. Tom Holland was the first Spider-Man to really hone in on a specific Queen's accent, and it's part of how his normal English accent has disappeared into the character. With this movie, you can really hear how Holland perfected it and amped it up, as he would have spent 4 additional years as a New Yorker. Holland recently joked with Amy Poehler on the Good Hank podcast about how English actors often are the worst at doing American accents because many of them don't super focus on one specific regional dialect.
The Brits are not always the best at American accents.
That is true.
I think conversely, like with Brits, when they do American accents, the one thing that they do is they kind of always turn into this kind of talking.
Right.
Like it's just very, because they want to make sure that they're rounding out their consonants.
There's lots of long R's.
Yeah.
And the next shot is a photo with Ned.
Yo, that's not funny, bro. They can all turn it off and on, bro. Just like me, bro. I'm secretly British.
At 5'7.5", Tom Holland is 5'8". So again, they're digging him by rounding down half an inch. And then there's a photo of this guy taking a selfie labeled "not him."
Yo, why'd you? Yo, I'd be looking mad, bro. Like, imagine being 6 foot and they go like, nah, bro, he's 5'11" and a half, bro.
Deleted scene in No Way Home as a bike thief, in a scene where Peter got green paint thrown on him. Harry Holland also played one of the Deadpool variants in Deadpool and Wolverine. Ned tells Peter that Spider-Man saved him and his friends' lives 3 times in high school. Wouldn't it have been more than 3? Well, think about it from Ned's perspective. He would have remembered Spider-Man saving him at the Washington Monument, that's one, and then only once in Europe, in London, because to Ned, in Venice, it was Mysterio and some random guy in a Commedia dell'arte mask, and then in Prague, it was Mysterio and the Night Monkey, and then the third time would be at the Statue of Liberty. So Ned probably also feels bad that Spider-Man took the rap for the London attacks and wants to thank him personally. Ned shows Peter the app he created, Spidey Tracker. Yes, a big part of the marketing.
Yo, it's always Ned that makes it, bro. I remember the game. We're gonna play the game at some point, maybe.
What Tony Stark did in order to initially
I
track
feel,
down Peter Parker.
bro, for games on stream, bro. I don't think I'm gonna post those. I just want to have fun.
Log all of his sightings from social media and then narrow down which kid from Queens it would have to be. Ned shows his 2 prime suspects. Eugene Flash Thompson. This is his cover photograph for the Flashpoint.
Yo, where is he at, bro? I was looking for him in the movie, bro. He only made like a guest appearance in the picture.
From No Way Home. And I guess a yearbook photo of Roger Harrington. Yes, their science teacher at Midtown High, played by Martin Starr. And if you think about it, technically Roger Harrington is the same guy who was at Culver University in the 2008 Hulk film. So I love how Ned might have tracked that down and said, wow, this guy was part of Avenger events since the beginning. And again, I love that Ned would have had
Yo,
to
for
assume that
real?
it would have to be someone who was with them both on their trip to DC and their trip to Europe. To the left of these is a
Become
photo
a
of
high school
Peter's
teacher,
hands
bro.
labeled slightly small. Another dig to, I guess, Peter's physical attributes.
leave him
MJ
alone,
walks in,
bro.
and she's wearing the broken Black Dahlia necklace that Peter bought for her in Venice, given to her via Happy Hogan in Far From Home, where it was then broken. But MJ liked that it was broken, and she continued to wear the same necklace in the donut shop at the end of No Way Home,
What?
even after the memory wipe spell, which was
Wonder
a sign
who
that
she,
part of her
bro. I wonder who she thinks gave it to her, bro. Oh my
still remembers
gosh.
Peter, and that part of her is still alive now. MJ notices the flowers that Peter initially bought for Aunt May, which Peter now says is a housewarming gift, and it's why Peter improvises his name being Maynard, a neighbor across the hall, he says.
I'm just a neighbor from across the hall.
Friendly neighbor.
Without realizing it, MJ works in Spider-Man's friendly neighborhood moniker. In the kitchen, we see Ned's mini keg was for Green Jackal beer. This is not a real brand, so some have interpreted this as a reference to Spidey villain the Jackal, aka Dr. Miles Warren, who is green, but he's not in this movie. We learn that MJ was offered a job for some soulless corporation that she turned down, even though it had health insurance, leading to this solid joke where she's like, yes, but at what cost? And Ned's like, depends on what your deductible is. Then the boyfriend, never named, played by Imanis Fondi, brings in a pack of Ramune. This is a Japanese carbonated lemonade. Already this handsome face is sliding into the trio,
Yo,
into
chill,
the same
bro,
role Peter
chill.
had. And when he plants one on MJ, Peter knows
Yo,
he's
get that
been
off my
replaced.
face, bro. They're low-key married, bro. Who thought of this, bro? They didn't like, bro. You really telling me that you had to go up to Tom Holland and be like, yo, this boy's about to kiss your wife, bro. Act like that hurt you, bro. Hello?
By Ezra Bridger and his beautiful blue eyes. Peter swings through the rain, recalling the much shorter kiss MJ gave him on Tower Bridge and Far From Home. And then the
Damn,
moment
bro,
the
that
three
was
of them
quick,
were on the
though.
rooftop in No Way Home, dreaming of a fresh start at MIT. Then the moment he said goodbye to MJ, and when he nearly
Why'd he get a longer one, bro? Why Tom only get a little peck, you know?
told MJ the truth at the donut shop. Back at home, a very drippy Peter sees his reflection in the monitor,
Whippy.
showing his eyes all black. He collapses, much like Tobey Maguire's Peter collapsing in a cold sweat in the 2002 film. Now we see the memory that Gene nearly hacked into.
Always
Sometime
told
after
me
Aunt
to the
May
bed.
caught Peter wearing his Spider-Man suit in his bedroom. I like how in this memory scene, they seem to make up Marissa Tomei and Tom Holland to appear younger, kind of like they looked in Homecoming. And Tom Holland in particular speaks in a higher register and a slightly less pronounced Queen's accent. The next morning, Peter wakes up in a cocoon,
that had to be
suspended
hard.
outside, mostly naked in this alley. An outside
Mostly
corner
what?
like this would be where a spider would naturally find a safe spot. Peter pushes his way out and falls before catching
Yo,
himself with
heck,
his
got toes on the
organic
screen,
webbing coming
bro.
out of his wrist. I love how grossed out Peter is
Yo,
at first, trying to wipe
bro,
it
that scene
away
was
before he
funny, though,
falls
I'm
to
not
the
gonna
ground.
lie.
So here it is, organic webbing in the MCU. Originally in the comics, Peter Parker has always used mechanical web shooters. The whole concept of organic webbing coming out of your own skin came from a very early idea for a Spider-Man movie in the late 80s, when it was conceived as more of a body horror film
some-
akin to The
some
Fly.
variants,
When
bro.
James Cameron took on the
Lucky,
project, he
bro.
kept a lot of those elements and specifically conceived of organic webbing coming out of the wrists in an extended scriptment that he wrote when he was imagining Leonardo DiCaprio for the role of Peter Parker. But then when the rights to the film were in dispute in the late 90s, they eventually landed at Columbia and Sony, and Jurassic Park writer David Koepp took on the script, and he kept James
No, I
Cameron's
kicked my
idea of organic
camera.
webbing, which is how Sam Raimi included the idea in his 2002 Tobey Maguire Spider-Man film. For a whole generation of fans, that movie was their entry point to the lore of Spider-Man, which is why
My
when
bad,
the
my
Andrew
bad.
Garfield films came about, there was a sense
Bro,
of relief from
Andrew
comic
is the
writers
best,
that they got
bro.
the
I'm
mechanical
always
web shooters
defending
back
him, bro.
in. But this movie, Brand New Day, is suggesting that organic webbing is the next natural stage of Peter Parker's evolution, as his arachnid DNA is taking over, coming about from him
He
spending
adult spider, bro.
less
I'm
time with
telling
other
you.
humans that he was once close with. The implication being the more lonely Peter is, the fewer people he allows in his life to ground him in humanity, the more his arachnid DNA says, okay, my turn then. I think it also didn't hurt that this Peter gained
Yeah,
some
that's
core
fair.
memories with Peter 2, Tobey Maguire's Peter, who has organic webbing, and arguably taught our Peter the most vital lessons in No Way Home. Peter crawls into the laundry room and grabs some random clothes and takes the elevator, including this black tank and juicy couture of his blonde neighbor
Yo.
that he ran into earlier, now with her boyfriend and a very unfriendly dog. Peter finds webbing all over.
Yo, wasn't that the same girl that was like in the start of the movie and she was like, oh, we live on the same floor, and then he's like, oh yeah. He's looking like me for real.
His artificial webbing is
When Spider-Man does it, he's cool, but when I do it, also there's low-key like a little workout ball, a workout egg
designed to
for my
dissolve
hands.
after a certain amount of time.
Hey, that's gonna dissolve in 2 hours.
No. Come fix this.
Not this stuff.
Nah,
Evie
bro, you-
explains that
you
his
can, like,
arachnid
untangle
DNA
that
has
shit.
spiked hormones that produce silk glands and spinnerets in his wrists. He tests his mechanical web shooters, but instinctively his glands feel the need to emit as well, so they blast off the mechanical ones.
Yeah, I
sticking
kind
them
of
to the
thought of it like as some breathing type of stuff. Like it's a part of the body that like needs to breathe or some shit. So then like once it's fully covered, it's like, hell nah, bro.
fridge. Peter goes out
And
on the
just
rooftop
starts,
and goes into sensory overload, where we
tweaking
see a
out.
single drop of water exploding into the bucket, and we hear a chip bag dragging across the rooftop, and pigeons deafening. It's quite like Sam Raimi's sequence in the 2002 film when Peter oversenses the fly and the spitball and the monstrous Joe Manganiello's fist coming at him. Peter actually references this directly by recalling that Peter too had organic webs, something that completely shocked and grossed out the other two Peters when he whipped from his wrists in No Way
Yo.
Home. And like Toby's Peter, we get this little sequence where our Peter tries to command his web here on the rooftop, but fails, like Toby Peter's rooftop trials in the 2002 film. But now when Peter shouts web, all of his organic webbing sprays out like a fire hose. And then after it seems to run out, there's
Oh,
one last
yucky,
little
bro.
spurt.
But who's spamming hearts,
Bad
bro? Cut
Bunny's
that out, bro.
Ew plays as Peter chaotically smashes into a water tower and then slides across another rooftop and sticks to these pigeons. I mean, all I can really see with the purple clouds of the sky and the way the sun is shining through them, just great
And we low-key
coloring
broke
throughout
that, I'm
all
not
of
gonna
this.
lie. That's
But
like a water
unfortunately,
right
in all
there.
of the wide shots of Manhattan in this movie, whenever we see JP Morgan Chase Tower, we do not see the new Avengers Tower next to it, as it appears in the
No.
recent Doomsday trailer. It's not in this movie, and it's really frustrating. Jean, controlling Scorpion, seeks the VMAX in the DODC data center. Peter swings into this area screaming, smashing through 3 signs: Bob's Hotel, then this Taqueria sign, and then Jen's
Yo,
Pizza.
she's ever
I
spamming
love the
emotes,
depth
bro.
of this
Chill,
shot.
chill.
There's 3 objects of varying distance from camera getting knocked before a quick camera pan and Peter crashing practically in the foreground. Gene-controlled Scorpion attacks, smartly using Scorpion's stinger to drag his body to a halt. Peter's headache worsens and Gene/Scorpion sticks the stinger right in his face, and now Peter's arachnid DNA takes over and Peter goes into instant kill mode, grabbing Scorpion by his tail.
Oh, this low-key dangerous, bro. I wonder, does he even remember when he's like this, bro?
Beating him with it. DeWolf arrives and tells Spider-Man that he almost killed that cop, and Peter seems particularly terrified by this, fueling my theory that one or both of Peter's parents were first responders who died during 9/11, since he was born 1 month before those attacks, and something must have happened to his parents for him to have to grow up with
All right, bro. I'm kind of feeling it's more of like a lore reason. They're just holding it out.
In various other media, it's where he meets Gwen Stacy. Now, Peter doesn't actually attend this
Bro,
college.
that's low-key looking like the Invincible Park, if you know what I'm talking about, bro. 1%, 2%, 3%. All right, bro. Yo, Jerry Dewey, do whatever you gotta do, bro.
Now, Peter doesn't actually attend this college as a student in this film. He just kind of goes on campus wearing an ESU sweatshirt. Bruce Banner is now a professor here. He previously appeared in the form of a photo among noteworthy scientists.
Yo, when did that happen? Yo, he's up there with Nikola Tesla, bro, and Einstein, bro.
High school classroom in Homecoming, Banner lectures about lattice quantum chronodynamics. This is a branch of theoretical physics that describes the changes of subatomic particles like quarks and the gluons that hold them together, as well as the whole universe. Banner says, we can arrange time and space in a grid. Time and space in a grid? That kind of sounds like the way Dr. Doom and Reed Richards are going to science their way through universes in Doomsday. And ironically, time and space.
Yo, I remember the end of that movie, bro. Something was coming.
Was most consequential with before he snapped all 6 stones together in Endgame. The Time Stone when he got it from the Ancient One, and the Space Stone when his variant from 2012 knocked the Tesseract, sending it to Loki's feet. Without him doing that, we would never have Loki variant L1130 and the whole Loki series and how important the character is going to be in Avengers Doomsday. A girl named Cindy raises her hand. I assume this is Cindy Moon, though here she's played by Shannon Young Cho, and in Spider-Man Homecoming and Infinity War, that Cindy was played by Tiffany Espenson. But this Cindy asks, if Thanos was worried about overpopulation, why didn't he just use the magic glove to make more food?
What? Bro, I still don't get what that's supposed to mean, bro. Bro just said skip a few. Alright, bro.
Valid question that channels like ours have touched on over the past 8 years. We've actually made lots of videos about what Thanos was cooking. But Banner answers the question by throwing to this Hulk fanboy Arthur,
bro, what does that even mean, bro? You mean like everyone just fucking
in the classroom cheers? But
eat themselves to death or something, bro?
The best answer to that question, because really the logic wasn't that great behind what Thanos did. He was just kind of a dogmatic monk at the end of his life who had tried everything else. Sometimes big dudes just get so angry that they stop seeing logical solutions to things and just give into their rage to smash shit. And sometimes what gets smashed is half of all life. After the class, Peter asks Banner about his inhibitor device. Banner had earlier models of this wrist device in the Shang-Chi post-credit scene, and in She-Hulk, it's a device
Yo, Jerry Duty, bro. Go catch some C's, bro.
That he created in the Gamma Lab in Avengers Endgame. And if you look closely at this device, you can barely make out the serial number of ASM-14. This is a reference to Amazing Spider-Man number 14 from 1964, the first comic issue where Hulk crosses over with Spider-Man. Peter tells Banner that his name is Ned Leeds, and I wondered why not just use his real name of Peter Parker here? Well, maybe Peter is worried that Banner's Hulk identity, the Savage Hulk, will remember the name Peter Parker and start freaking out. We have made some videos explaining whether Banner's Savage Hulk identity knows who Peter Parker or Spider-Man are.
Oh, that's low key kind of crazy though. Nah, I don't think he would remember, bro. My name is Alex. Remember the name? Yo, who is Jury Duty, bro?
Bruce experienced a total blackout for the 2 years Hulk was at the wheel, but Infinity War, the two identities seemed to be able to converse with each other and hear each other. And it was in the second of those movies where Bruce learned this.
There's an Ant-Man and a Spider-Man.
We haven't seen Hulk in a minute though. I'm not gonna lie. I think last time we saw him was like in that one Thor movie.
There's actually a moment later on in this movie where Savage Hulk does seem to remember Peter Parker, and that's what saves Peter. But here, Peter asks Banner that since he can diffuse the gamma radiation emitted by his DNA with this device, then theoretically, would it be possible to target specific mRNA transcriptors and turn those genetic expressions on or
I'm
off
UGL,
with a
bro.
similar
Chill.
device? Peter starts running away with his thinking and dreaming of a device that could automatically suppress any genetic mutation, and Banner cautions him that such a universal inhibitor could control anyone with any powers. So this is crazy, but but basically in this movie, Peter Parker invents a prototype for a mutant inhibitor device. Yes, the kind of device used in the collars that we often see in
Yo, the
X-Men
collars,
stories,
bro?
and the kind of device that anti-mutant groups in the future mutant saga, like the Friends of Humanity, or the forces of Henry Peter Gyrick and William Stryker, or the Sentinel technology of Bolivar Trask, will all use as part of their armory. It is wild that the MCU made Peter Parker the J. Robert Oppenheimer of the mutant saga, and by extension, Bruce Banner is kind of the Albert Einstein who warned Oppie, which
It's
makes
the
it
collars, because the collars, bro. The collars they're too much, bro.
fitting that Bruce Banner's photo was next to Albert Einstein's in that classroom. Banner says, "How would you decide what parts of nature are good or bad? What if you're trying to control the expression of something that needs to be expressed?"
That's a metaphor for something, bro.
Yes, it's a deep question for Peter in this movie, but it's also an existential thematic question for the whole mutant saga that will soon begin in the MCU. Should a sudden influx of enhanced mutants, amounting to 0.5% of the population, be controlled? Or should it be allowed to express itself? And who makes that
They
decision?
can express
Peter
themselves
wears
as long as
a
they're not
Delmar's
causing
Deli
danger and
shirt as
stuff.
he builds an inhibitor chip, listening to nothing Professor Banner warned him about. Delmar's was the deli and bodega
Yo,
in
chill,
Queens from the
Jerry.
earlier 3 films. We actually have this shirt in our merch store, nerdright.shop, along with a new
Yo,
Spidey tracker.
go peep the merch, bro.
Peter listens to a YouTube video in the background where we hear Keith David's narration from the trailer about spiders. Interestingly, in the trailer, Keith David said, "Spiders have 3 life cycles," but here the audio changes the wording so that we hear him say, "Spiders have 3 stages in their life cycle." It's slightly more correct, but as I pointed out when we heard this line in the March trailer, it's still not totally accurate because spiders are arachnids. They're not insects. Spiders do not go through stages of life the way insects do. Spiders just kind of hatch out of eggs and look kind of like they do for the rest of their lives. They just molt as they grow larger and larger. But that molting is not a distinct stage. I also just think it's odd for the great Keith David to narrate this small moment of the movie. I wonder if it was going to be a larger part of the film, but due to the
Yo, I look, you saw a spider in my room, bro. I look, you had to get that stuff gone, bro. Rash's green statements. Alright, Jerry Duty.
inaccurate biological
Jerry
phrasing, they
Duty.
just removed it. Because similarly, there was a scene that was featured a lot in the marketing of the film where Peter would have demonstrated
Yo, you're doing too much,
fascination for
bro.
kids, where a girl brought up this same spider life cycles line again.
Do you know the one thing he is never scared of? Needles. What the?
It's probably spider puberty.
Hey, come on.
Bro, who's just stabbing Peter Parker with needles, bro?
Yeah, this scene was completely removed from the movie, just making it very weird that Sony kept it in the marketing as late as June. Peter's 4th model inhibitor chip works on his own arachnid DNA, so he takes it for a spin outside. In the alleyway, there is a campaign poster on a dumpster for Wilson Fisk, making NYC safe. Now, some have believed that Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin could never appear in a live-action Spider-Man movie due to rights issues, but
Why
Kevin
not,
Feige
bro?
recently clarified this.
Did you ever go down the road of Daredevil, Kingpin? From what like Vincent has said, there are some rights issues on the Kingpin side.
Right.
They're not. I mean, they're things
No.
to navigate like everything else. But we talked about all those.
We
those
had
characters at
Daredevil
one point.
in our movie.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But as soon as Peter uses his new heads-up display, that signal interferes with his inhibitor and he gets sensory overload again and accidentally drops some web grenades and boom. I love that we see these explode from outside the
Yo.
alleyway. From a physical comedy perspective, it's kind of the opposite of Peter suddenly getting swiped out of the frame
How
by the
big
battle
is
bit.
it?
Here he
Can you
gets
see
blown
my
into
name?
frame.
Nah.
Jean's next
Why you
inhabited
laughing,
victim
Spider-Man?
was standing
Because that's
right
my
there
boy,
in the
bro.
moment of explosion, so she must have been stalking
Yo,
Peter.
that Loki, bro. I Loki thought that was Miles.
Spider-Man. You
Bro,
okay?
listen to the voice, bro. That Loki sounds like Miles.
So she must have been stalking Peter.
Yo, Spider-Man, you okay? Did you get rid of that monster inside you?
Listen to him,
Akeem
bro.
plays David, and I think they just named this guy David in the credits so that people weren't like, "Oh, is this guy's name Miles Morales?" Jean
Yo. I was calling it, bro. I was calling it, bro. How much for your bathwater? Yo, you're tweaking, bro. You're
Peter Parker
tweaking.
and that she's currently in his apartment. As Jean holds the letter, her inhabited victim David also pantomimes holding the letter, leading to a pretty hilarious rule for Jean's possession in this movie. Like to make certain gestures as a possessed body, does Jean have to physically do those herself wherever she is? Kind of seems like she does. And while she gestures while
real?
linked with another body, does that person always mirror the gestures? Like when her older sister Sarah demonstrated it with a woman waving in the park. Sarah wasn't waving, but
Yeah,
Abby
but she
pointed
wasn't.
out that maybe when MJ kissed
Why not? That's what I said. That's Miles, bro. In my name. Yo, I'm not saying your name, bro. Number 3, number 2. Make it. Yo, you're tweaking, bro. You're tweaking, bro.
Somewhere else, kissing the air. That's just very funny to me. Like,
But that shit low-key had me pissed, bro.
now Gene jumps into a businessman, and then this woman, and then into this poor street worker played by Judd Charlton.
Yeah, he low-key might have died.
To get wrecked by a taxi. No way this dude survived this Meet Joe Black.
Yeah, bro. He's an original old man, bro.
I don't know. Maybe she learned something about this guy when she went into his mind.
Yo, he's been drinking his calcium, bro.
But even in that scenario, just kind of flag him and then circle back to him later and make him turn himself into the cops with evidence of whatever he did. Like doing what Gene did also kind of ruins the taxi driver's day.
Oh,
Peter
watch the Spider-Man, bro.
the bodies of the inhabited into this wedding, and I love the way he crashes.
Hold on, what? Yo, UGL, how did you get so hot and handsome and set? Bro, watch the video, bro. What are you talking about? Not right now, bro. Watch the Spider-Man, bro.
Mostly stays intact in case the bride and groom want to save it for that 1-year anniversary. This bride and groom are named Lucy and John. Actually, when their names show up on the helicopter and trailers, some comic fans noted that there is a Lucy and John Riker from the Incredible Hulk's comic run of the aughts by Paul Jenkins and Ron
You're just
Garney,
dropping
where
names
Lucy
everywhere,
Riker
bro.
is someone dying of cancer, and she gets injected with Hulk blood, making her a disfigured gamma being. I don't know. I don't think that's this couple. Evie measures
Yo,
the
who's
distance
asking
between the
about
jumps and
Easter
comes up
eggs
with a
in the
maximum limit of
meetings, bro?
33 feet. Now, Peter doesn't know in this moment if that's the actual precise limit, because that would just be anecdotally the maximum that Peter and Evie saw while Gene was jumping in this chase. Like later in the DODC, they confirm a radius of 40 feet. So I'm guessing it's actually a bit further. Also, we learned that Gene can just set
Nah, bro. I assumed the 40 feet was just to be extra safe and stuff, bro. And since a TikTok, what is you talking about? Yo, watch the Spider-Man, bro.
Someone closer to her. So it's not like she was trapped in this helicopter with this guy
Is
forever.
Jean
When I
Grey
first watched this
evil?
movie, I was as convinced as Peter that he just came up with a really great plan. But when I watched it a second time, I was like, why would
At
he assume
first,
that
not
would work?
anymore.
In MJ's bedroom, notice there are photos of just Ned and MJ, no Peter, from how they looked in No Way Home. Spider-Man comes in and quickly explains that MJ's in danger and she needs to come with him. And MJ quickly agrees to come. A little too quickly.
I wouldn't say that quickly, bro. She was hesitating, bro.
Be gotten into MJ.
Oh yeah, on the second rewatch, bro, I was peeping that maybe at that moment that's when she switched.
As they're swinging, they never seem to be within 40 feet of anyone else. Zendaya plays this rooftop scene so well, because on one level, she's giving us the astonished MJ realizing that they must have known each other, but also the actress gives us enough to suspect something is off about her. She's just a little too doe-eyed in this realization. It's like Jean Grey is doing a theater girl audition of someone realizing something. If it were just MJ figuring something out, her realizations always come with a bit of sarcasm and a little paranoia. None of that is here, but possessed MJ here recalls the Washington Monument, London, and Prague. She does not bring up the Liberty Island scaffolding incident, maybe because Gene doesn't want to alert Peter's spidey sense that he might have to go jumping after MJ in a moment. Gene, as MJ peels up Peter's mask above his mouth, just like Kirsten Dunst married Jane did when that Peter was upside down in the 2002 film.
I low-key peeped the
this loving
reference.
kiss is followed by the complete unmasking and tearful hug, followed by this gut punch as Gene now says, "Go ahead, Peter. Touch her. Hold her. You've been wanting to do this for so long." Damn! Zendaya really knows how to drop a, "Hey, Cass, how long have you been fucking Nate Jacobs?" This scene
Hey,
really had
whoa, what? Look, he spoiled that for me, bro. I'm not caught up in that show.
Gene as MJ mocks us, the audience. True love's kiss breaks the spell and reunites the star-crossed lovers. Yeah, I kind of thought it would for a second. And notice how Michael Giacchino's music here is exactly what we hear in the previous great twist of this franchise when Peter's in the car with Liz's dad revealed to be Vulture. In that scene, John Watts used the shifting traffic lights on Michael Keaton's face to convey his villainy. Here, Destin Daniel Cretton has Zendaya step back to let the neon red glow on her face. Peter's right. What Gene is doing here is monstrous. To control
That
a woman's
is, bro. There is no
without
reason to
consent
be
to make
doing
her
all
kiss
that.
another person is a form of assault, Gene, on both MJ and Peter. Is
Facts,
Gene
bro. That's not
too
cool.
evil in this movie? We're going to talk about that in our sneak peek podcast episode coming Sunday. They shot this on the rooftop of the real-life Silver Cup Studios, the New York area production facility where many interior scenes of Daredevil Born Again were shot. Peter's arachnid rage emerges and he suspends Gene-controlled MJ over the ledge.
Bro, I understand being mad at that one guy, but being mad at Spider-Man and doing all that, bro, there was no reason to be doing all that, bro.
It's like Tombstone did to him earlier in the movie. And remember how Tombstone asked how long it would take for Spidey to hit the ground? Now Peter's gonna have to do some of that mental math to answer that question. I mean, it's not that hard. It's 9.8 meters per second squared times the height of the building.
No way he really calculated that, bro.
And I'm sure Peter has gotten that figured out.
The way they're moving with these videos, they might have actually calculated.
Jean kicks MJ off of Peter and lets her drop.
And
I
she's
love this
smirking, bro.
transition. Just as the red light leaves Zendaya's face, representing Jean leaving her body, that's when MJ's panic sets in. We get this slow motion lateral shot of Peter diving after MJ, just as he did in No Way Home before Goblin swiped him away and Andrew Garfield had to go after her to redeem him, failing to save his Gwen. I will always love how much they want to milk this kind of shot. It looks awesome. I also love how our Peter learned from that, and he knows he has to grab the person he's saving and not just whip her so that he can absorb the impact of whatever hit they're gonna have on the landing. Peter takes MJ to Frank Castle's booby-trapped boat warehouse. Frank lives on a boat called Golden Girl, which is a nod to Jerry Conway's spectacular Spider-Man number 141 from 1976, the first time Spider-Man and Punisher team up against Tombstone. Punisher in that issue uses a boat called Golden Girl as his hideout. MJ finds all of Frank's memorabilia of his wife Maria, his daughter Lisa, and his son Frank Jr. Also, it looks like a stuffed bear. And Peter uses his facial scans of this mystery telepath to learn her name is Jean Elaine Grey. So yes, after months of speculation, it's now confirmed that Sadie Sink is playing the mutant and future member of the X-Men, Jean Grey, the third actress to play her in live action after Famke Janssen and Sophie Turner. She's the first official member of the new cast of the X-Men introduced in the MCU. We gotta do another video just going back through every interview and media appearance Sadie Sink made, denying or just not answering the question that she was Jean Grey. Recently, Ryan Reynolds appeared in Hall
Yeah, bro. I was wondering why she was with the main crew, bro. I was like, bro, she could not have been that minor of a character if she was posting up with the main characters, bro.
Totally referencing the fact that she is Jean Grey, and Steve Lacy did spoil it at the red carpet. But you know, now that I'm looking back at the clip, all he did say was Jean, and he might have been saying that his favorite character was Jean DeWolf. Have we all been too mean to Steve Lacy? Nah, there's no way he knew Detective DeWolf's first name was Jean. So Jean Grey is an Omega level mutant with advanced telepathic, telekinetic, and in some cases reality warping powers, and eventually becomes the host to the Cosmic Phoenix Force. She's gonna have a big future ahead of her. Sadie Sink is already confirmed to return in Avengers Secret Wars, and it's assumed that
I look, you forgot about Secret Wars, bro.
she's going to be a star in Marvel Studios'
on
X-Men film coming either in 2028 or 2029. But here in this movie, Marvel Studios is doing something different with Jean Grey's origin. She has an older sister named Sarah Grey, like she has in Chris Claremont's run of the comics, a sister who's also a telepathic mutant. Rather than being recruited by Charles Xavier from a young age, this Jean Grey begins with her and her sister abandoned by their mother, Elaine, into foster care. And then they become runaways using their body hopping powers for fun until they were hunted by Metzger in the DODC. So questions for the X-Men/mutant plan at Marvel Studios remain after this movie. Are there other future X-Men in this 616 universe? Like, is there a Professor X and an Xavier Institute up in Westchester County? Was there—
Bro, that would low-key be crazy, bro. Professor X over here, bro? Nah, they would have, that would be big news, bro, I swear.
Magneto, who survived the horrors of World War II in this history. While Marvel Studios has confirmed characters like Kamala Khan and Namor as genetic mutants, are there other young mutants in the 616 universe like Scott Summers, Aurora Monroe, Hank McCoy, Bobby Drake, who just haven't been discovered yet? Is there a James Logan Howlett Wolverine in the history of this universe?
Wolverine, bro?
Like that headline about a man with metal claws fighting in a bar brawl in that one She-Hulk episode. And why is Marvel Studios introducing a homegrown mutant now in the 616 universe right before the events of Avengers Doomsday, which will so prominently feature returning X-Men from the Fox X-Men universe of Earth 10005? And really, in this 616 universe, where have the mutants been all this time? Well, I'm guessing Marvel Studios will start to answer these questions at D23 on August 14th. And then in
August 14th? Yo, how many days is that? Oh, I've got another 12 days, bro. I'll be live during then.
It was reported on Friday by Deadline that Samara Weaving from the Ready or Not films and various other roles has been cast by Marvel Studios in their upcoming X-Men film as Emma Frost, the telepath with the ability—
Emma Frost, bro. There's no way. There's no way, bro.
Into an indestructible diamond texture, played by January Jones in X-Men First Class. Emma Frost is a member of the mutant villain Hellfire Club. Meanwhile, Obsession's Indy Navarrete revealed that she was in talks with X-Men director Jake Schreier, potentially about playing Mystique. And rumors are out there that Charles Melton and Kaylee Spenny from
Yo, I love this guy, bro. Hold on. That's my boy right there.
Season 2,
I
which
love
was
him.
written by the people writing the
That
X-Men
handsome,
film,
bro.
are in talks for characters like Beast and Rogue. But for now, my best guess is that mutants in the 616 universe have existed all this time, just in slightly isolated numbers, in secret, not realizing there were
When did
others
this
with their
happen?
shared X gene. But then recently, events in the 616 universe like gamma radiation released by the snaps of the Infinity Stones, or incursions, or just a side effect of Doctor Strange's spell, something activated dormant X genes that were in 0.5% of the population. You could say it's just natural for evolution that with all these crazy reality warping events, 0.5% of humans would evolve to have advanced powers to help the overall species survive. I think Marvel Studios just wants Jean Grey to be the focal mutant of the story that they're telling in the mutant saga. An angry, gifted girl, grieving, oppressed, hunted, and exploited, capable of scary, violent acts, but also capable of redemption. Introducing her in this billion-dollar Spider-Man movie, I think, is the best way to get young viewers invested in her journey. And Sadie Sink is amazing casting for that. As to the Doomsday and Secret Wars of it all, I'll have more thoughts on that in future videos. MJ helps Peter fix his
So it's like Secret Wars, like a continuation of Doomsday, bro.
chip and gives another voice of warning, saying this is like altering your DNA. Using the Oppenheimer example, she's kind of like Isadora Rabi, lovingly warning this Oppie that he is opening up too big of a Pandora's box. Meanwhile, Jean has raided the DODC headquarters tower. When Peter gets in here, he sees some hand ninjas kind of limping away, wounded from trying to fight the Hulk. Jean shows Peter Banner's broken inhibitor, meaning she inhabited Smart Hulk. This is his 7'5" form from Endgame, capable of talking and wearing some clothes, and is conscious enough to be controlled this way. So now Peter has to use his second inhibitor chip on Banner first. But Jean gets a sudden headache. I wonder if she's struggling to contain the Savage Hulk identity beneath the mind of Banner that she's inhabiting.
Yeah, bro,
Frank
that's
Castle
crazy,
arrives, laying
bro.
some suppressing fire and roaring like he always does, and Peter traps Banner in this web grenade. And I love how Banner here does one rare range attack that I don't think he's ever done in the MCU, the seismic stomp. He does it on
Yeah,
Punisher.
how is he
I love
doing
seeing
that,
it
bro?
here. Clearly, Destin Daniel Cretton is a huge fan of the Hulk. It shows. Peter webs both
Bro,
of
it
them
caught
and
me off
drags
guard
Frank
too,
under
bro.
a
How
leaping
you
Hulk to
stomping
shoot
the
him from
ground
below.
doing a
So
whole
basically, Frank
trail?
gets some shots at Hulk's feet and his like under section, and then when Hulk's facing away from him, he totally gets a shot right up his butthole. Now
Alright,
Frank
bro.
grabs
There was
this
no reason to point that out.
grenade. So the art book for this movie confirmed that the DODC also has confiscated Chitauri tech and Sakaran tech and tech from Rocket
And
Raccoon. So I
Lee.
feel like this grenade is something Rocket had. Now Banner is able to angrily force Jean out of his brain, but it's really the deeper Savage Hulk monster that's the source of this rage. Frank and Peter bicker over a plan. Peter goes to try to contain Hulk with the chip while Frank goes to take out Jean, and he wants to shoot her, a plan that he'll eventually just carry through in this movie. But Frank gets distracted by this alien skull in a liquid tank. I think this is a preserved Chitauri skull. So Jean
Yeah, I was
suppresses him
wondering
and
what that
inhabits
was.
him, and hilariously notes, this guy's got issues. Yeah, just pay no attention to the ghost son screaming at you in the corner. Later, John Bernthal has some fun with
Yo,
his
what's
Sadie
going
Sink
on with
voice
him though?
saying,
I have not watched
good luck
Punisher.
with that, Peter, and kind of walks away. And I just love here that we get a proper Bruce Banner Hulk out scene. It's crazy to think how rare it's been in this franchise to actually see Bruce Banner try to fight off and ultimately lose to the Savage Hulk that tears out of his shirt and not cut away from it. 2012's Avengers only showed the moment Banner actively controlled the transition.
I'm always angry.
But it's clear here that Destin Daniel Cretton just really gets the Hulk and what makes him iconic. So now we stay with Hulk on the full transition. And for the first time since the opening minutes of Infinity War, Hulk is back to his Savage Hulk form. 8'5", more monstrous than Ruffalo actually looks.
Damn, it's been
And
a
now
while then.
our man is shredded. He's veiny, there's no body fat, he's terrifying. Hulk's first move is to grab Spider-Man by the legs and thrash him around, just like he
Hit him
did
with
to
the
Loki.
when I
Thor.
was about to say, bro, hit him with that low key move, bro.
He's got a favorite move, but one thing that Hulk is not ready for, because he's never fought Spider-Man, is how nimble this spider is. Spider-Man crawls on Hulk's back, which is an iconic visual that goes back to their first
Bro,
comic
this scaling
duo
was not
appearance
like
in The
this.
Amazing Spider-Man number 14. This Spidey versus Hulk fight is just exhilarating. Cretton and Pollack shoot Peter in this shot, webbing down a corridor at us on all surfaces, having the camera follow Peter
Yeah,
as
bro,
we're
he was bouncing
spiraling
off
down
the
the
walls doing
hallway, and this
webs.
giant green threat just plows after us. This spinning Inception hallway is my favorite shot of the the movie. But then the webbing eventually snares Hulk, and he breaks out of it with his other iconic range attack, the Thunderclap. The
This is
Thunderclap was
crazy.
featured in the 2008 Incredible Hulk film, but that Hulk used it to extinguish flames on a helicopter. It was shown again briefly in the She-Hulk series, but Smart Hulk's Thunderclap was shown as weaker than his cousin Jen's were. But this Savage Hulk's
Like, she's just
Thunderclap is an
spamming that, bro.
explosive blast. Peter grabs the Shocker's gauntlet, labeled in his heads-up display as Gauntlet X. Maybe the DODC is starting to use the X nomenclature for how they plan to use these devices. Spider-Man and Hulk tumble out the side of the building. When Hulk rams them into the facade they're speeding past, we get this great scaling of his massive thumb and fingernail on Peter's shoulder. Peter misses the chip at first, and it flies right at camera, and then he whips it back away from us, and then he webs past Hulk. And I love this detail, how Hulk learns during this fight. He just looks at the web and grabs it to pull Peter back through a window. Now Peter swings around the building, webbing Hulk to pin him more and more
Bro, I
against
love
the
how
face of
he
the building. But
adapted that,
unfortunately,
bro.
the
That was
inhibitor
looking
chip will
cool.
not stick through Hulk's thick skin, so
Just
Hulk
swinging
rips
through the
off this
building.
whole side of the building, sending them falling
And this
into
shot was
debris. But
crazy.
Peter has fought in this kind of terminal
Like, look at him,
velocity
bro. He's not doing nothing, bro. He's
inside the
just
building,
sending
sending
falling.
them falling in the debris. But Peter has
Look
fought in
at
this
him,
kind of
bro.
terminal velocity environment before, jumping from debris piece to debris piece while saving the heroes from Thanos' moon toss in Infinity War. So now Peter's able to lily pad back to Hulk and Shocker Gauntlet uppercut him. So now with Hulk being tugged backwards by the heavy debris, he tries to stand his ground, and then Peter, thinking he has the upper ground, goes in for a KO, but Hulk catches the Shocker Gauntlet and crushes it. Hulk nearly kills Peter here, but Peter gasps, "Bruce, it's Peter, I'm your friend." And
I'm your
Hulk,
friend.
not Banner, but Hulk, sees Peter's eyes through the mask, and he sees his own reflection, and he lets go. So why does Hulk back down here? Did
Yeah.
Peter somehow break through to Bruce? I mean, Hulk's hand was right up against Peter's body. Did the Peter tingle do a kind of sun's getting real low stroke on Hulk's palm under there? Well, I see this as evidence that Savage Hulk did remember Peter Parker, that Savage Hulk was
Yo,
unaffected
we
by
did see the
Dr.
thing with Ned, though. So if that is true, then Ned Loki got memories, bro. When's this video over? GG. Bro, we got another 16 minutes, bro.
Wipe
Hold
spell.
tight,
I
bro.
think Banner didn't remember who Peter
We
was,
sitting
but
all
I
the way
think
through
Hulk
this.
did. Meanwhile, Jean and possessed Frank break into the vault, but Peter gets in and sticks the chip on her neck. And as Jean goes down from the dart, she tells Peter, Sarah, before she passes out. When Peter
Sarah.
gets back to MJ on the boat, he sees, she's
Chill.
found the letter. And we have this heartbreaking face-to-face exchange over Peter's decision to not tell MJ all this time they've known each other and to erase her memory. And Peter says that he doesn't want to live without her and says, "I love you," the phrase that she wouldn't let him say to her
Damn.
face back in No Way Home until he came back to find her. He's like, maybe this is the moment. But now MJ just says the spell worked and the girl who loved Peter is gone.
Damn.
And while she's grateful that Peter did this to protect her, the MJ standing before him now can't love him. She doesn't even know him. I love the
Damn.
way Zendaya plays this. It's like a heartbreaking exchange, but
That
with so
was,
much
bro. That felt so bad, bro. That felt so bad.
emotional truth that we cannot help but agree with her. And on top of it all, Peter has to hold MJ as he swings her
I
back.
can't even blame her, bro. We collab. I want to collab. Yo, Darius Queen, bro. Weren't you supposed to block me on your stream, bro? I look, he made it, bro.
Home. But MJ isn't breaking
I
up
want to
with
collab
him
in all the
forever.
way.
She brings him
Yo,
inside to meet Ned.
The Spidey Tracker app says that Spider-Man is in the direct vicinity.
right in front of you, bro.
Crazy.
Ned drops his tablet the same way he dropped the Lego Death Star upon seeing Spider-Man.
He's gotta
in the
get
same room
tighter
as him
grip,
in
I'm not gonna
Homecoming.
lie.
Notice the tablet glitches when it hits the floor. I wonder if this is connected to the glitches the app experiences when it locates another Spider-Man in nearby space in the post-credit scene. It could all come from Ned's innate sorcery that he had in No Way Home, specifically when he located Peter 2, Tobey Maguire. Peter and Ned go right back into their old ways, this time working together to build a Lego X-Wing, mirroring how they previously built a Lego Death Star.
Damn,
The
you look so
X-Wing's the
young
fighter that
back then,
brought
bro.
down
I
the first
swear.
Death Star. Just like the rapid-fire questions Ned asked Peter in Homecoming about the spider that bit Peter and Peter controlling the minds of other spiders.
CEO, bro. And they so yo, we know this, bro. We know
Now Ned
this.
does a similar thing, asking Peter what he does when he has to pee, if he just finds a rooftop. Not only does this harken back to their high school days, Peter's also surprised to see how Ned has grown after graduating MIT, guessing pretty close to how Peter engineered his web shooters and his web fluid. And now these two nerds quote,
"If you're referring to the incident with the dragon, I was barely involved.
This is Lord of the Rings, bro.
Give your uncle a little nudge out the door."
This is a quote from Ian McKellen's Gandalf.
Yo, I called it, bro. I called it.
From Peter Jackson's 2001 Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring.
If you're referring to the incident with the dragon,
I was
This isn't even Lord of the Rings, bro. I'm tweaking, bro. This is The Hobbit.
barely involved. All I did was give your uncle a little nudge out of the door.
Gandalf was referring in that moment to the events of The Hobbit, when he and Bilbo encounter the dragon Smaug. Yes,
But that's what I was
it is
thinking, bro. I
wild
just
that
got the
Peter and
name
Ned
wrong.
here are doing an impression of Ian McKellen, who's about to join this universe as his other iconic role of Magneto. The MCU is full of these kind of paradoxes of movies starring actors in the MCU appearing as movies in the MCU. But we should also acknowledge it's kind of crazy that the dragon in that franchise referenced in that line was played by Benedict Cumberbatch, whom both of these kids just worked alongside in the previous film when he played Doctor Strange. I mean, obviously, the Lord of the Rings movies can exist in the MCU.
Used to
I
be
don't
an
think
actor
X-Men
in
movies
the
can exist as
MCU, bro.
movies in the MCU. But just as MJ did in Homecoming, now she sketches what she sees. Before it was a doodle of Coach Wilson, now we see Ned and Peter building the Lego X-Wing together, but Peter's mask is up
I'm
in a
glad she's
sketch,
still
which
drawing,
means
bro.
that she was able to redraw his face from memory, from their sad chat on the boat several minutes before. Peter realizes that Metzger lied to him about who Sarah is, so Yelena helps with research that Jean Grey had a sister named
Yelena,
Sarah,
bro, she's my
a fellow
favorite.
telepath who was experimented on by the DODC. And with Jean in captivity, we see the flashback of her final memory of Sarah, played by actress Olivia Booth Ford. Jean is established as having an older sister named Sarah in 1980's Uncanny X-Men number 136. Sarah has latent mental powers like her sister Jean, and according to this 2014 CBR article, Chris Claremont planned that Sarah would be a mutant with the ability to activate latent powers in other mutants, as she does for her sister Jean in this movie. Here, Sarah teaches Jean to body hop, and they talk about how a mother gave them up when their telepathic powers began to express themselves. Jean asks, "What would you do if you had daughters like us?" And Sarah responds, "I'd love them, especially the redhead." Someday in the future, Jean will have at least one daughter, Rachel Summers, and her clone, Madeline Pryor, will give Scott Summers a son, Nathan Summers, aka Cable, a motherhood that Jean will kind of share through cosmic memories shared through the astral plane to Madeline. Sarah
real?
has a green and yellow and blue scrunchie that Jean will later use to remember Sarah. These are the comic colors of Jean's Marvel Girl suit. Sarah gets arrested by Metzger in the
There's so many
DODC.
comic
It actually looks like the
references.
whole ice cream truck was in on it, because Jean, after being forced to walk away
Ice
by
cream
Sarah,
truck?
sees that ice cream truck slamming the door, with Sarah probably inside. Jean is now in this containment cell on Roosevelt Island. Roosevelt Island, in the middle of the East River, has some importance to Spider-Man cinematic lore. It was the Roosevelt Island Tramway in 2002 Spider-Man where that Tobey Maguire Peter faced off with Green Goblin. Metzger set up this room apparently as a playful bedroom for Sarah. Like
Yeah,
you can
bro. You just took away the walls. What's the point of that, bro?
see roller skates on the floor and paintbrushes on the table. Super messed up considering what it was really built for, as he explains to Jean, to scan their telepathic brains to replicate this in the mind of another person that they could control. Metzger says, "You're gonna change the world, Jean." Yes, an Omega level mutant like her certainly does have the capacity to change the world in all kinds of ways. Metzger activates the brain scanning machine that he built through the many months of trials with Sarah, and he deliberately tells Jean to honor her sister's sacrifice, knowing that Jean's anger will get her to repeatedly try to jump so that they can see what part of her brain is being used to do that.
Not cool, bro. Not cool. Using her sister's death like that, bro.
But we have to ask, would any such DODC device have ever worked? Could they replicate this telepathy power in any body, or just someone's body who has the X gene? I just find Metzger's plan in this movie to be woefully incomplete. It seems like these human authorities have yet to make the discovery Kamala's friend Bruno made, that for some of these people, their powers come from their genetic makeup. Jean makes the heartbreaking discovery of what VMAX really is. Just the last thing Sarah saw when she died of exhaustion, looking up at the ceiling and seeing the peeling label of the AC vent, Vent Max. And now this trauma, this anger really enhances Jean's powers. And the
Yeah,
way
bro. I really
Jean's
thought that was a
neural
whole
passageways
thing, and
wind
then
up
that's just part of a fan brand, bro.
brain scan here does remind me of the opening title animation of the earlier era Fox X-Men films, showing the advanced human brain of Charles Xavier as we were seeing Cerebro at work. The DODC text says that Jean's frequencies are evolving and her brainwaves are somehow affecting objects in the room, showing that in addition to telepathy, she also has telekinesis. When Metzger reaches for the controls to shut it down, the tech grabs his arm and says, "I can't let you do that, Bill." A reference to the creepy moment in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
"I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that."
Jean says, "The only hands that will control this power are mine." And boom! She releases a psychic shockwave that blows out the windows of the control room, freezing everyone in there, and it's spreading out from Roosevelt Island and then throughout the city, freezing diners in this restaurant. I love the detail of the cyclist crashing into the car crash and the cyclist himself going.
Yeah, bro. There was no reason to do all that, bro. I was kind of ragdolling.
Jean's psionic energy pulsates with a translucent rainbow glow that goes particularly pink when we pass through it to Frank. Usually a pink glow is the manifestation.
See, the thing I was wondering though, if you're on the outside, can you like enter it? And if you could enter it, Would you be stuck like them? Probably.
Of Jean Grey's psionic powers. Peter goes into this prison facility and Jean takes control of the hand. I love Fen Zhang's fight choreography, even if I don't know why logically the hand are in this movie. Notice how at first they all link up in a chain with their initial blows against Peter, and then they leap in the air at him, which even Peter can't help but marvel at.
God, that's cool.
There's more
That was cool, bro. Imagine his
Peter
POV.
runs from a ninja along the cage wall, and then on the higher level, the camera pivots upside down to follow Peter on the ceiling as he continues to fight them. But unfortunately for Peter, the DODC have these sonic web dispersion cannons that Peter realized they specifically designed to control him. The ninjas destroy both of Peter's web shooters and work with the DODC cannons to knock Peter out. Meanwhile, Jean holds Metzger in a chair with glass shards pointed at his face, similar to how Ebony Maw tortured Doctor Strange on the Q ship in Infinity War. Meanwhile, she tells Peter through this hand
that's
ninja,
crazy,
people like
bro.
us don't get to live a normal life. We don't get to have friends or family. Those people are gone. Peter remembers the moment Aunt May died, when
Listen,
he
bro,
embraced
listen.
MJ and No
You
Way
just need
Home,
yourself some
putting his
Aunt
head
May,
to
bro.
her head, when he did his final handshake with Ned, and when both MJ and Ned hugged Peter on the rooftop to console him for
Imagine
losing
our
May.
what? Imagine our POV that we can. All
Jean
right,
tries
bro.
to make Peter
That's
choose.
that's some
Are you
that's the
Peter
freaky
Parker,
stuff,
or
bro.
are you Spiderman?
You gotta wait
The
until
idea being,
Gooniverse for that.
enhanced beings like us, mutant or not, have to choose between having souls and empathy and human connection, or we're just our lonely superhero or supervillain monikers, and that's it. Peter removes his chip, and he lets his eyes turn black, and he declares, "I'm both." And he uses his freaky
both.
strong organic webbing to shatter the sword. But as Peter punches this ninja upward and webs him before that ninja gets impaled on a pipe, his eyes retract and he
that
regains
was looking
control
crazy,
over both
bro.
his arachnid hormones and his empathetic human identity. He's now kind of like Neo seeing the Matrix. He dodges the ninja stars, with framing looking like Tobey
Yo, this reminded me of the X-Men, bro. I know it's supposed to be a Spider-Man reference, but that Quicksilver and Before Days Past,
Maguire when
that's what it
Joe
reminded me of.
Manganiello's huge arm punched past his head, and he turned his head back to look at Flash's face. Our Peter's organic webbing takes out the cannons because those cannons were not calibrated for whatever this is. And then Peter leaps up to end up doing a web tornado, not to hurt the hand
Also, this is
ninjas, but to
crazy, bro.
suspend
How
them
do you
all
even
in
do
his
that?
Spider's web. Finally, Peter's able to put his endless fire hose web spray to use in this film. Peter gets into the room where Jean is, and he allows Jean to inhabit his mind this time. And now Jean joins Peter and May in the bedroom, and it's Jean sitting on the bed with May instead of Peter, because Peter knows that the wisdom May gave him in that moment to him as a teenager after she realized he had powers is the same wisdom that Jean Grey needs to hear as her powers have activated. Aunt May says, "You're a really special person, and I know that will always make you feel really great about yourself, but I know sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it will be really lonely, and sometimes because you're special, people can do dark, monstrous things to you. But this is what I want you to know. You're beautiful, and the people who love you, we love you not because you're special. We love you because you're you.
Because
I want you to
you're
remember
you,
that.
bro.
Even when it feels like you're totally alone, that's your deepest
Like
responsibility.
my girl,
Never forget
like my
that,
girl
no matter
MJ, like my boy Ned, like yo, we don't need that many other, like the Elena, bro. Like Elena can be one of those people, bro. You just gotta trust her.
you become. I don't know, there's just something about an aunt telling a nephew that he's beautiful that is just so sweet, and it hits even harder that Jean Grey just needs a mom to tell her this.
Exactly, bro. I was peeping that on the first
From
watch.
Tony Stark here in the scene, visible in the shot, written on it, "This belongs to you, TS." Because in a way, Tony Stark is giving his blessing here. He's telling both Spider-Man and Jean Grey and all mutants after her that this world belongs to them. Peter now takes May's place on the bed and tells Jean that she's not alone, effectively becoming the ambassador to all mutant kind in the MCU, a responsibility that Peter will have to fight to uphold, considering he's also the Oppenheimer who invented the mutant inhibitor collar. Peter's spidey sense alerts him to the dark void of this room, death itself, and Frank Castle's sniper bullet. That 0.02 second reaction time from the DODC scanner earlier in the film comes into play here as he steps in front of the bullet. Jean puts her hand on Peter and begins to breathe. Later, while he recovers, we see that she's somewhere in a park using her powers to continue to breathe for him.
Bro, listen. I know at that moment you probably could like wept her or something, bro, but I don't know. I feel like he was instinctively thinking here, bro. And even if he could pull her, the whiplash probably would have gotten to her. I'm not gonna lie.
His heart beating. That's incredible. Frank Castle cradles Spider-Man's wounded body into the ER. You know his ghost son was like, I didn't mean get him, Daddy. Frank holding Peter like this recalls Steve McNiven's art in 2006's Civil War #5, when Peter, after getting the Iron Spider
What
suit and
reference did you
unmasking himself
just
publicly,
okay.
ends up getting beaten up by Jester and Jack-O-Lantern, and Punisher finds him and takes him into an infirmary shouting, give me a medic, now! The people of New York City hold candlelight vigils, and
Oh,
we
give him
see
some
the Empire
voice
State Building
voice
light up
acting,
red
bro.
and blue. This shot was actually recorded in March of this year, when Tom Holland appeared on the observation deck of the Empire State Building to promote the launch of the first trailer. Peter wakes up and finds MJ's drawing at his bedside with lots of other crappier kids' drawings. After an apology from Frank, Peter walks out unmasked among the crowd as Frank redirects their attention up to the window, waving, wearing the Spider-Man mask from the room, allowing Peter to just enjoy this moment. In a way, Frank also gets to experience something new, the adoration of fans. I love how Frank seems to be like crouching down with his legs spread out to look shorter in the window. One other kid in this crowd seems to recognize Peter and kind of does the webbing hand gesture to him, and Peter playfully does it
Oh,
back.
for real?
It's kind of like Captain America Winter Soldier, when the random kid was able to see under Steve Rogers' ball gap disguise, and Steve trusted that kid to keep a secret. Now, I would like to say that this kid could be a young Miles Morales, but I can't make that case for every kid in this movie. Also, the year right now in the MCU is like 2028 to 2029, and I don't know if this kid was alive 11 to 12 years before this when Aaron Davis in Spider-Man Homecoming mentioned having a nephew in Brooklyn. Like, I don't know, this kid looks like he's like 6 years old. And then we see this lovely shot of Peter sitting on the same part
Miles
of the
got coming in
construction
like the next 2 years.
scaffolding that he sat on when he was feeling really lonely in the earlier shot of the film. Now the building is more complete, and we see a coffee cup, the same kind of coffee cup that MJ gave him, but now he drinks out of it because he's no longer using these type of things to keep letters that he'll never give people. And it's almost like he's still star-crossed, looking across the city at someone with the sunrise behind her, MJ. She is sitting on the same rooftop where she, Peter, and Ned sat atop in Spider-Man No Way Home when they were dreaming of their future, and she holds her broken Black Dahlia necklace. Part of her misses what she had with Peter. And then we see Jean resting her head against the bus window, a reflection of herself leaning back against her head, like two Jeans sharing a mind. An astral form of Madeline Pryor coming in the future, perhaps? This bus is
What? What? Yo, what reference is he dropping,
taking
bro?
Jean somewhere out of town. I'm gonna assume it's going north toward Hudson River Valley, Westchester County, where a certain Xavier Institute might be. Peter put some fresh flowers on May's grave. The epitaph of the headstone, when you help someone, you help everyone, certainly takes on a deeper meaning as Peter helped Jean Grey and potentially helped all future mutants.
Hey, watch her pull up in Doomsday, bro. Watch her pull up in Doomsday. For the ones that were hoping that she died, bro, I'm just saying, watch her pull up in Doomsday. Gonna be paying mad work, bro.
Wolf calls to say that Metzger is still missing, but that Yelena Belova is helping the authorities investigate the files the DODC tried to have scrubbed. So now we see how Yelena and the new Avengers could be allies to mutant kind against the authorities trying to hunt them.
Also, for you guys just to know, she really did jump off the roof of the building, bro. Just for that stunt. She's like, his name, Thanks, bro. Just like him,
I
bro.
love Tramell Tillman in this movie. I would love it if he were the governmental mutant big bad of the first few mutant movies. Kind of like a William Stryker figure, or at least someone partnering with a Bolivar Trask, creating Sentinels, using Peter Parker's technology. The film ends back in the bodega. Peter reintroduces himself to his buddy Ned with the recurring handshake, and Ned magically remembers the exact steps of it. He looks up in astonishment and says, Peter! Is he just connecting the fact that MJ told him that Spider-Man's name was Peter? No, I choose to believe that he remembers everything in this movie.
Bro, I'm really hoping that, bro. I'm really hoping.
Best friend? Is it the fact that Ned is
No, I'm putting $50 on it right now that he remembers, bro. Wait until Doomsday. Actually, I don't even think Spider-Man's gonna be in Doomsday, bro. Didn't they say that?
Who could operate a sling ring, just being somewhat resistant to Doctor Strange's spell? Or does that Doctor Strange spell just not comprehend these simple gestures of friendship, a kind of love that surpasses all types of obstacles and magic? I mean,
Exactly,
MJ
bro.
even seemed kind of envious of the natural bond.
Because part of it is like, he hasn't really like gone up to anyone as Peter Parker, bro. Like anyone that, like barely anyone knew Peter Parker like that. And like he's just now going up to his homie. It's day one, going like, yo, I'm Peter, bro, and then start making some memorable moments. Maybe you can do that with Zendaya, bro.
Peter and and Ned shared, as if she knew that these two were really the ones who needed each other. And for how I think this final shot connects to Ned's Spidey tracker in the post-credit scene, watch our post-credit scene video. But two little
We
details
gotta
that I will
watch
add
that
here
right
that
now.
I did not cover in that video. This Spidey tracker app has a new emblem in the lower left, and that was not there in other shots of the Spidey tracker app throughout the film. And the second detail is we got to remember that this app works by users posting sightings. So really, this secondary Peter is a sighting in space posted by someone else. Who posted it?
Yeah,
Was it Nick
who would have
Fury
posted
from
that,
Space
bro?
Station, or was it posted by a Ned variant using a variant Spidey tracker app on whatever variant Earth this is, just posted a sighting of whatever that Earth's Spider-Man is? Whew, I loved this movie. There you go.
Yo, that was a great video, bro. We gotta put a thumbs up.
I can't wait to see this
We
movie
did it,
again
bro.
and find even more stuff. Comment down below with everything you loved about this movie. And a special thanks to one of our NR Underground subscribers, Michael Horwitz, for supporting us at the executive
Thank you,
producer
Michael.
level. Every Monday we do a special episode of the Monday Mailbag Show.
Yo, check out the podcast,
You can
bro.
get access to that and all of our bonus features by going to nrunderground.supercast.com. Huge thanks to Studio Tech, Brian Kim, New Rockstars editors Joshua Stephen Hurd and Abby Friel, and the total army of editors who went to work on this video.
Yo, thank you. Yo, we gotta add him up on LinkedIn. I'm not gonna lie.
Follow me at EA Boss, hit that subscribe button, and thanks to all of
Subscribe, bro. You got me, bro. You got me.
I love you guys. 3,000 and more.
3,000 and more, bro.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye, bro. All right, now we actually gotta see how long that post-credit scene is, because you might want to watch that. 14 minutes, bro. How much time? It was lucky 12 in the AM, so I'm not gonna lie. Damn, bro. Honestly, I think I'm just gonna leave it off here. That was a long video, bro. But maybe in the next one we'll be watching this. I'll add it to the playlist just for us. Reactions of the day. Black Panther 3, bro. I didn't even watch 2, bro. So they low-key be posting mad videos on here. We gotta watch more. They deserve the mills, bro. They low-key need more of those. But anyways, guys, I enjoyed the live stream. I enjoyed the video. Now we know more about Spider-Man. For the ones that stuck and stayed. And yeah, guys. I'll see you guys. Wait. First, I just want to say for the ones that are here, if anyone's here, I just want to say we'll probably be streaming more, and we're gonna be streaming games and maybe reactions more. But they won't be posted really. Like if I do post them, it's gonna be on a different channel, like unedited and stuff, with like the chat and everything, bro. I'm gonna mess with the setup, but that's for everything else, bro. We're gonna be playing games, reactions, gonna post them maybe. We'll also be moving to the Twitch. I think I'm gonna change the Twitch name before I actually give it out, and I think that's it. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I enjoyed the video, and we'll shoot. I'll see you guys in the next one.